Just waiting for YouTube to start up for those who watch on YouTube.
Says live on YouTube.
Right. Well, I get another message. It took a second for me to get the same confirmation message. Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order of the San Mateo Union High School District. This is a public meeting of the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees. If you wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during the public comments section at the beginning of the agenda, please send an email to comments@SMUHSD.org. That's comments, COMMENTS, at SMUHSD.org. Include your name, email address, and your Zoom name if it's different from either of the other two names, and the item under which you would like to comment. I will add, I already have emails from Joyce Lynn and Rachel Lauderdale who will comment during the public comment session, and Christy Knott who will comment on item L1. The board president, those who send an email, I, the board president, will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. I may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. We're going to simulcast in Spanish. I'm going to go to our Spanish translator to repeat what I just said, and then I'll set up the simulcast. He's also going to tell you where to find it.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Armando Ramírez, yo voy a ser el intérprete el día de hoy. El señor Friedman acaba de decir que él está llamando esta reunión a orden. Esta es una reunión pública y llevará una agenda. Si usted tiene algún comentario que hacer, por favor, puede mandar un correo electrónico a SMUHSD.org. Ahí puede incluir su nombre, correo electrónico y su nombre de Zoom, si es que es diferente al que está en la pantalla. El presidente entonces le dará 3 minutos y puede aumentar o disminuir un poco. Ahora, en este momento, si usted necesita interpretación, abajo de la pantalla usted va a ver un globo. En ese globo usted le puede hacer clic y allí va a decir, le va a dar la opción de español. Usted hágale clic en el icono español y lo va a llevar al salón en donde va usted escuchar la introducción, la interpretación. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Mr. Friedman.
Gracias, Armando. I'm going to start your simulcast.
Gracias.
Okay. It should be started now. Okay. As I said, I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm going to take a quick roll call, and then I have something to say. So Greg Land, Trustee Land.
Present.
Trustee Linda Lees-Dwyer.
Present.
Trustee Peter Handley.
Yes.
Clerk Peter Handley. Vice President Robert Griffin.
Present.
And Mark Friedman present. A few days ago or a day ago, we lost one of the tremendous giants of our district, a person who gave close to 50 years in administrative positions and so forth, and was a great leader in our district. And that is Larry Teixeira. He passed, I believe, 48 hours ago. And, he was tremendous as a vice principal at Aragon, a principal for many years at Burlingame High, and then the leader of our adult school for many, many years. I'd like to ask that we observe a moment of silence in his memory as we open this meeting. Thank you all. Mr. Chishero will be missed by all of us. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Skelly, you have the flag. Can you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is public and/or public followed by governing board comments, item H. We have two public comments. First is Joyce Lynn. You can turn on your camera, which you did. You can unmute yourself. There's a clock somewhere here. Is the clock? There it is. You have 3 minutes from the time you start speaking. Please speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and administrators and attendees. My name is Joyce Lynn, and I'm the College and Career Advisor at Capuchino High School. I am currently our CSEA treasurer and part of the negotiating team. I have worked in this district for 23 years. Tonight, I want to talk to you about equity. I have been attending the board meetings and find that the board and administration talk a lot about inequities and exploring ways to be more equitable. I want you to truly consider how you view classified employees and whether or not you feel this is equitable. As you are aware, we are currently at an impasse over our contract due to disagreements on what is considered fair and reasonable. Now let's take a look at the administration's and management salaries that were approved at the last board meeting. I'd like to point out that these were approved at the very end of the meeting when most people had signed off. You unanimously approved these very generous salaries and praised everyone's hard work. The 37 salaries range from the lowest at $137,000 to the highest at $278,000, plus expenses and full benefits. Now let's look at the typical instructional assistant salary range at step E, the top step, which is approximately $30,000 without 100% paid benefits, because they are not offered full-time work. An administrator who was making $150,000 last year received a $6,660 increase this year. Do you think this is equitable? Do you think that classified people don't work hard? Do you realize many of our members are on the front lines right now being exposed to potential COVID-19 cases without a contract? Do you realize that employees like me, after 23 years of dedication to this district, make approximately 38% of what a fairly new assistant principal makes? Fortunately, I am able to make a conscious choice to accept this. On the other hand, some of our members struggle to be part of our Bay Area community due to this income gap. Thankfully, you approved our pay increases. To some of the lowest paid employees, that was around $1,300. For many, their Kaiser HMO contribution increased more than that. So in effect, they took a pay cut in 2020. How could you possibly think this is fair and reasonable? Shame on the highest paid district administrators for squabbling over the multiple proposals that we presented in order to make our lowest paid members whole. I am speaking out again tonight for our members who are in need. I am proud of my career here and the students and families I've helped along the way, but I am saddened, disheartened, and deflated over the disregard of our members. And this has been a frustrating process. Many classified employees tell me they feel like second-class citizens, and I am deeply disturbed by the inequity in our system. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rachel Lauderdale. If you want, you can turn on your camera, but you definitely have to unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
President Friedman, Mr. Friedman, I'm sorry. I think we had a bit of a miscommunication. Ms. Lauderdale originally did want to speak under public comment, but emailed me late to say she wanted to speak for DTA. So is that still the case, Ms. Lauderdale?
Yes, please.
Okay, but we have Craig here. He's not going to speak for DTA?
No, it's going to be me.
Okay, no problem.
So our next public speaker then is Christy Knott.
She's L1 though.
Oh,
No?
I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. Thank you. My apologies.
Okay. Thank you. So we're going to speak to governing board comments. Mr. Land, you get to go first.
So I just wanted to say a few words about the start of this week. I just think it was in these interesting times and starting remotely and trying to make sure everybody's got the equipment that they need. I do want to commend the district for what they've done, how it has been a good start, how it has been really smoother than we thought. I want to give everyone compliments for making it happen. It's not been easy. I know the teachers, I know the kids, it's not been easy, but I have seen like the distribution days and the orientations, and I really want to say that that's been a great thing, and I really think I look positively on that. I hope that continues as we get into the learning and it gets down to the nitty gritty and the rigor is there. I know in my own school it's been tough just getting started this week. It's a lot of work and it's not easy, and I just kudos to all the teachers, all the staff, everyone who's worked really hard to make this happen. So I just want to say thank you.
Thanks. Mrs. Dwyer.
Okay, I have a couple things. Let's see if you can hear me. I do want to celebrate what went well, what has gone well the first week of school. And I am hoping that everyone is working very hard to identify what did not go well so that adjustments can be made, so that anything that can be fixed quickly, because it affects education of students. So I think it's really important. The other thing I'd like to say is about Larry Teixeira. I didn't know him really well, but my interactions with him always kind of left me with a smile on my face, because he was so smart, and yet he spoke in such a common, everyday kind of way with a sense of humor that would just, he'd say something to you and you'd walk off and then you'd laugh because you'd get it. He was a very compassionate educator, and he really cared about the welfare of every student that came under his purview. And I think that is like such an important quality and a quality that we should really encourage. I would like to ask that we look at developing some sort of, it doesn't have to be big. There's an herb garden at Washington Park that is, herb gardens are kind of easy because they don't have to worry about them blooming and then not blooming and all of that. So, and they smell nice and it's just a nice thing. So I was thinking if we could look at doing some sort of little herb garden, and Washington Park also has benches and have little plaques on them. And I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if we could look at doing a little herb garden with a bench, and we could put plaques on it for people who have really contributed to this district. And I would put Larry Teixeira on it. I'd put Mildred Swan on it. That woman did so much for people as a volunteer. And I really think that she needs to be recognized. And there's probably 15 other people that others can name throughout the district that belong on the bench. So I'm kind of hoping that that would be something the district could look into so that we can really recognize people who care and who have done so much for our schools. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Hanley.
Thank you. Yes, I want to recognize Larry Teixeira's contribution to the district also. He was already director of the adult school when I came to the district now a long time ago. But you know, I worked with him as a board member and on several issues with the adult school over the years. And he was certainly a landmark figure in the district, and he will be missed. So rest in peace, Larry. Thank you.
Mr. Griffin.
Thank you. I got a couple of comments, and I don't know how many sat through the athletic town hall last week. I sat through the whole thing and found it to be really informative. You know, the ever-changing landscape of sports and how it's going to work. And I thought it was well organized, and I thought I learned quite a bit. On Larry Teixeira, I remember him from Burlingame. Fortunately, I don't remember him from Aragon, but I do think that Larry was always a gentleman, and he had a way. And you know, as educators, there's some people who can have a way with people who don't want to be agreeable. And Larry had that talent to be able to pull people in while they want to fight and they want to just create all kind of, dust. He could charm them, come on, cut that stuff out. And certainly I enjoyed working with him, and certainly he'll be missed. And I think that's what I have to say, public comment. So
Thank you. And I'll just follow up what I said earlier. Larry Teixeira was truly one of the giants of this school district of the last 40, 50 years. I hear stories for people who are now fairly not young anymore, let's put it that way, who were at Burlingame High when Larry was principal, and the great job he did there. And then of course he spent, so I don't know exactly how many years, but probably 20 plus years at the adult school, where he had an immense effect on many people who came to that school, new residents of our country, and he took them under his wings and really made them feel welcomed and made them feel that they could learn and become a productive part of our society and help them. I'm sure there are, there's many who just value what he was able to do for them. And he'll be missed. I remember when I first came on this board 9.5 years ago, and I went and met with him, and I didn't know really what the adult school did. And with a smile, as Linda said, he just told me about what it did and convinced me in 30 minutes it was the most important thing that this district did for people of our community. And so he will be greatly missed. I will miss him. And I'm sure we will find a way to recognize him by getting input from the board, as well as the many people whose lives he touched over the last 50 years. With that, we're going to move to the consent agenda. Is there anyone who wants to pull something? Ms. Lee-Schweier, I believe you were going to pull something.
Yeah, I wanted to pull the contracts to just make a couple comments on them before we approved them.
That's item J2, right?
I could not pull up the agenda off. For some reason, I couldn't get it off of the site. So
Okay, trust me, it's item J2.
I'll go with that. Okay.
So we're looking for a motion. Anyone else want to pull anything? We're looking for a motion to approve the,
I'll move approval.
Second.
last item J2. Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hanley, second by Mr. Land. We have to take roll call. Mr. Land,
Yes.
Ms. Lee-Schweier,
Yes.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
yes.
and I vote yes. This consent agenda passes 5-0. Moving on, item J2. Ms. Lee-Schweier, do you want to ask your question or whatever?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to make some comments because I went through the contracts and looked at them and the backup material, the invoices and things that were attached. And I saw a few things that I had questions on. And also I think that we should know, and the public should know who reads the agenda online. The Edgenuity contract went from 100,000 to 160,000. I'm sure there's a really good reason for that, but it wasn't as part of the contract materials. Special ed had 2 contracts in there, and they are both for said sums of money. And when I read the contract language, I can see that it's up to certain sets of money. It's not for that amount, but it can be up to that amount, and that's absolutely fine. I would like to have the dates that we approved those contracts added to that report so that when we see it again, we know that we already approved the contract, because sometimes things don't go on the next board agenda. And so I'd like to know when we approved it, just the date of approval go on there. We bought all these hotspots, which I'm thrilled that they came in, but the only documentation for the $96,000 is an email quote. And so I'm hoping that we do have additional documentation and invoice that was signed off, properly, that should be attached. And I know some of these things change, but I think up to the moment of the meeting, the additional documents can be added. So I would really like to see a little more information with the contracts, so that not only do we know the backup information, but anyone looking at it would have the same information in front of them. With that, I move approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, before I call the roll, I have a question. I didn't catch that the Edgenuity went to from 100,000 to 160,000. Can anyone explain from administration where the extra 60,000 is for? Because I had been in a lot of communication with you about Edgenuity. The administration was constantly told it was a $100,000 contract.
Julie, I don't know if you can provide any.
Yes, with the additional 400 some students that are in independent study, it did increase our contract with them. And I can provide more details if you want it next time.
I mean,
Also, an expansion of the course offerings. So we had to include, some of the students were choosing courses that we hadn't had under our previous contracts. So to include some of them, it did require us to have some additional money.
I'll just say that I'm in my communications with administration about this. When I was saying we should look at something else, I was constantly told it was $100,000 and $100,000 flat. We've already committed to it, and that's why we shouldn't look at something else. So personally, I'm very disappointed to hear, and I thank Ms. Lees-Dwyer for discovering that it actually was more, because I feel somewhat misled based on my earlier communications.
I'd like to echo that. I think, I understand the increase, or at least I understand in theory, but that does behoove us to really look at, is this the right choice? I mean, it goes back to what we were questioning. Is this the right choice for our school district? Is it the most optimal? There's been a lot of complaints about it. And then to say that we're going to get charged $60,000 more to increase services, that puts in question whether this is a good decision.
Well, and we were led to believe there was no more charge. Linda, you wanted to say something?
Well, yeah, I guess, now that we're talking about these, the hotspot issue, I'm not, an email quote is just an email quote. So I really think, that the invoice for those hotspots needs to be part of the documentation that we approve. I'm not real comfortable with it in an email quote. I'm hoping that it is exactly the $96,000 that it says it is. But it would be good to have that documentation. And I understand that there was an urgency involved in getting them, but there should be no urgency in getting the invoice up on the web.
So I know you made the, anyone, does Mr. Hanley or Mr. Griffin want to comment on this item? Bob, you seconded it, right?
Yes.
So the motion by Ms. Lees-Dwyer, second by Mr. Griffin. Mr. Land, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Lees-Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
and I'll vote reluctantly yes due to the one issue. The others are actually both issues that were raised. The other contracts are fine. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we're going to move on to report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much. We are up and running. Today was day 4. So far, so good. Things are going they're going way better than certainly our expectations. We thought it would be a bumpier start to the year, more difficult than it's been. And I think our teachers deserve a ton of credit for that, as well as our administrators who've worked hard on myriad logistical challenges that have been associated with the start of the year. Our classified staff members who've been on campus helping to distribute instructional materials, supporting students, calling them, all kinds of efforts. This has been an opening unlike any other year that we've had, but students are learning, they're in class, they're working. It is almost remarkable how much different this is and how well it's gone given those differences. I want to thank Sabby Hopkins. I want to thank Jessica Valera, Julia Kemke, Sammy Showman, just to name a few, all the ITCs and the instructional folks at the district. There's just been so many people who've been involved. And in doing this, I'm neglecting many, many people in this list, and then just teachers who've been putting countless hours to get ready for this year. And we would not be where we are without them. It's a long journey. We've been only 4 days. We have 176 more to go, but I think we are certainly off to about as good a start as we could possibly ask for. I've been visiting campuses, seeing teachers, talking to them. They're very appreciative of the support that they've received, and they're very excited to be engaged with students. And they know that they're in for a long year, but they're so committed to students and their success. We will be coming back in the next meeting or two with goals for the year. Obviously, the goals will be different this year than they have been in other years. And I also want to thank the parents who have entrusted their students to us. This is a year where that trust will be, we'll have to really live up to the expectations of our families. But I appreciate them sending their students here ready to learn and get after it. I want to let the board know that we are trying to do some communications in different ways. Mr. Griffin mentioned our meeting about athletics that happened last week. We will also be having other meetings. We're looking at a variety of different meetings about parent education. Those include helping your student be successful in distance learning. Our date for that is on it's Tuesday, September 1st at 6 o'clock. We'll be sending out more information on that. And then we'll be having things on mental health, college applications, supporting students, and all kinds of topics during this year. This environment with webinars and Zoom calls has opened us up into new opportunities to communicate. And now I'd like to recognize some of the folks that are here on the screen that retired last spring, and we did not have a chance to recognize you. We had 12 people who are retiring, who retired last year. They represented 306 years of service to our district. That's an average of a little over 25.
I don't know why, because the smoke.
Ms. Dwyer, I think you're coming through. I think you need to, thank you.
She took care of it.
Okay, great. So I want to recognize some of the ones that are the folks that are here. First of all, Margaret Balmana from who taught special ed at Burlingame High School. Ms. Balmana, you want to say a few words, or we certainly appreciate your coming to the board meeting tonight.
No, I just thank you. It's really been a pleasure working for this district. As on an aside note, I was sorry to hear about Larry Teixeira. Just to let you know, he was my junior high school guidance counselor back before he was even at the district. So I've been around for a long time, and but I was sorry to hear of his passing. That's a great loss.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you very much. Next, I want to introduce Christina Trujillo, who's there with another retiree, Don Bush. They're not practicing social distancing, and I know they don't need to practice social distancing as they are a couple, and were just really valuable folks for at Aragon High School, teaching AVID and math and being real champions of social justice and the work on behalf of students. We really appreciate their work. We hope that they're enjoying retirement. So I'll invite you, both if you'd like to just say a few words.
We'd just like to say thank you for the recognition, and for those of us we got a chance to work with, we always enjoyed working with other people in all the efforts, and we very much admire all of you who are going through what you're going through right now. I won't lie and say that we're very glad that we're retired right now, but all of you are putting in so much effort, and we wish you the best in this process of craziness. So thank you and good luck to you all. Stay safe.
Thank
Don, you
you.
want to say?
Keep doing the good work for our kids.
Thank you, Don. Next, I want to introduce Mr. Brad Friedman, who was the drama teacher and put on so many extraordinary plays at San Mateo High School. He's retiring after many, many years at San Mateo High School, and what a history he has at the school. So, Brad.
Thank you, Dr. Skelly. It's been 31 years, and it has been it's a lot of wonderful memories. I'm looking at Christina and remembering some meetings we attended together, and we had some fun doing strategic plans and things like that. I am very grateful for all that I've had, especially grateful to have worked with some incredible staff members, to have had the chance to work with Gordy Young at Cappuccino when I started, and the great Tom Moore, who was a mentor to me, and Charlie Douglas, and Yvonne, who has been a wonderful principal. I've been blessed with a great admin team all the time, and the most amazing teachers and staff. And as a drama teacher, I've had the opportunity to become very close to my students and their parents. And right now, I'm like Christina, grateful that I'm not having to deal with this, but I'm watching it every day and dealing with texts with my colleagues and friends, and I'm very, very at loose ends what to do. And I really want to thank Linda, who had her place, her chair at the theater for every show, and brought Liz there and sometimes brought Mark there, and was such a wonderful support. And Kevin, thank you so much. From the moment you arrived, you came to our shows, you wrote notes to our kids, you made us feel something we always knew, which was that the arts really matter and are very important to our students and to our schools. So thanks, I've talked a lot. Thank you so much, everybody, for a wonderful career.
The next person I'd like to introduce is Roberta Leidy, who was a champion for our students' social, emotional health throughout her career, taught health at Mills High School for many, many years. She has the record among the teachers who were honoring for the longest tenure. Started off, I think, coaching, playing, teaching, all kinds of things. What a career, and what a hole she's left at Mills. So, Roberta.
Oh, thank you so very much for this invitation. It's really a privilege to be at this district. I've been provided opportunities to try new things, go down avenues I never thought that, I would venture to. I had great support, great mentors who believed in me, and I was appreciative of the district personnel of our association with Craig. And I really feel, though, that I couldn't have done any of this without all of you. It really does take all of us believing, pushing, saying you can do this, here, try this opportunity. And I believe in saying yes to life. So I just want to thank you. And right now, every day is Saturday on a long weekend for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roberta. Our last attendee tonight, I believe, is Carl Pastor, longtime special ed teacher in the district. We lost some really super talented special educators this year, teachers who could find ways to reach students for whom school is not often there. It comes easy to them, and we're really deeply appreciative of Carl's many years of service to our district. Carl.
Well, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. Also, my heart's out to Larry. When I came in to this meeting, I was like really excited. And then when I heard about T, it broke my heart. I did work for him for 5 years. And what everybody has said, he is a leader and he was able to motivate you without you even knowing it. You thought you made the choice, but it was him pushing you. But nonetheless, I also started in this district long ago with Gordy Young, and I didn't call him Gordy back then. I called him Mr. Young. And also had Tom Moore and Charlie Douglas and Chuck Kenton, Barbara Camelar and Sam. I always just saw them as just like us. There was never a difference between teachers and administrators. It was just like the Aragon Hall of Fame principles. We had a goal to have our children do their best, but not just that, but we had our goal as a district, 1,000 people working for our children to have a better future. And we laid the foundation for those children. And it's an honor to be part of that, even to the point where when I say from generation to generation, it gets fine-tuned. Even Kevin and Kurt has walked into our biology classes that are special ed and regular ed together and brought other people from other districts to see our model, which I'm proud of, and I'm proud of this district, and truly an honor to work with everyone. And thank you.
So I believe thank you, Carl. And I believe that's it. Craig, I believe you wanted to, you texted me and said you'd like to make a few comments. So take it away.
Thank you. First, I do want to mention just my memories of Larry. He was the first person in the district that I met when I was 14 years old, when I started at Aragon, my first day of Aragon. And there's a picture in the yearbook of Larry with his hand on my shoulder, and I'm just this punk little freshman, with a sourpuss look on my face. And Larry was the kind of person that would, take you under his wing and guide you through and give you all the support that you needed for what he could do. And I found that to be true working with him as a colleague once I came here as an employee. So I'm going to miss Larry a lot. He was an institution in this district. But I just wanted to pop in here really quickly. I've had a busy week. It's been a busy week for all of us, as so many of you guys have talked about. But I just wanted to recognize all the retirees, and especially those who are here tonight. Christina and Don, you've been so much of an inspiration for Aragon and as a couple, and my wife and I are also a couple at the rival school, but so you guys have done it well, and we're trying to follow in your footsteps. And so thanks for your support and everything. Carl, you mentioned, I know Brad mentioned Charlie Douglas, but you also mentioned Chuck Kent, and Carl and I go way back in the wrestling world, and we work with Charlie and Chuck as referees for wrestling, and the contribution that Carl's made to the district, not only at Aragon, but when I first met him as a coach, I think he was coaching at South City High School, and I was a student then. Sorry, Carl. But we also worked next door to each other at Hillsdale for a long time. And so I really appreciate your service and wish you the best. Margaret, obviously we were neighbors for a dozen years or so, with Karen there too as well. And I know she's going as well. So I want just, you guys supported me so much just in my early years of teaching at Hillsdale. So I really want to thank you for that and wish you well. Brad, we emailed, we had an exchange in email last couple of weeks, and I really appreciate your sort of sage advice and awareness of not only the staff at San Mateo, but sort of the perspective that you have in the district. And you're a treasure, and we're going to miss you. So good luck and best of luck. And to my dear, dear friend, Roberta, I remember the first day of my teaching career, she sent me she gave me a book. I think it was called Teaching 101. And I don't know if I ever read the whole thing, but it was really meaningful to have that support, when you're breaking into the career. So congratulations and best of luck. So thanks all of you.
Kevin,
That's it. That's my report.
so does the board want to say anything? Each board member?
I have to, I'm just going to say, one, I didn't get to talk about Larry. I'm just going to mention two people. One, I just want to say thank you to all of you. You are incredible. I know some of you by reputation alone. You may not know me, but I know you because of the wonderful things that you've done in this school district. And I've already heard about many of them. So congratulations. But a special, Larry and I met Larry at AXA, which is the administrators conference in Sacramento, and many, many moons ago when I was a vice principal. And he kind of was very take me under his shoulder kind of guy. And I could see everything that everybody said about him because he's just the kindest guy and wonderful and just warm and just wanted to be your, hey, I'll help you out. And that's what I met. And then when I got on the board, he's like, hey, it's good to see you here. And he just gave me that kind of good old thank you, kind of go for it. And I just really, I'm going to miss him. Christina, I cannot believe you're retiring. I just can't. I've known you from so long ago and I'm like, wait a minute, that means I have to retire. So I just like, oh no, I can't yet. But congratulations, Christina. I know her from subject matter projects and presentations that she did and I did long time ago. So good to see you guys. Congratulations.
Linda.
Unmute your mic, Linda.
Linda, sorry, unmute.
You may have
I
muted.
didn't freeze her. Linda, please unmute. Linda, we don't hear you. You have to unmute. There, Linda, try to unmute your computer. I can't unmute her either.
Good.
There you
Okay.
go. You have it.
There.
Go.
Okay, it said you remuted me, Mark.
I did when you weren't unmuting. I was trying to
Okay.
unmute.
Congratulations to all of you and to all those who couldn't be here too, because you did it. I mean, you educated kids, you helped kids, you did the mission, and I think that's like an amazing thing. And you're here to talk about it, and you can always come back. That's another thing. I just want to say a couple words about Brad Friedman, because I remember when I first started going to as many things I could go to at San Mateo, because I can walk there, and I will tell you that's like an amazing convenience. And so I would walk there, and then I would see that the musical is starting, the play is starting, and there's Brad Friedman walking around, and I'm thinking, as the teacher and the director, I'd be a basket case. I can't imagine just walking around, and here are these kids doing all of this amazing work, and you're just calmly walking around. And as the years went by and I saw that again and again, it dawned on me the reason that the kids are able to do all that and he's able to walk around like that is because he's such a fine teacher that they learned it. He doesn't need to be up there watching them. They're doing the performance that they have learned to do. And I think in teaching, that's so important, that you enable the student to do the job. And that's what he did. And I would see him walking back around, sitting down, talking to people, and how easy he made it look. And I think all of you probably have had that same thing where you've made it look easy, and it's not easy. I survived a couple years of teaching, went to get a master's, went to law school. And I taught special ed, Carl, and I loved it. But it's a very tough, ongoing, everyday job, and it's so important. So I want to thank all of you, and I will never forget watching Brad Friedman at the theater, just acting like nothing was going on. So my best to all of you.
Okay. Peter, you want to add anything?
No, I would just congratulate everyone on their service and on their retirement. and I hope they enjoy the years ahead.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes, I too want to congratulate the entire group. And I want to thank you for that walk down memory lane, because some of those names, you know, I think I knew everybody that you mentioned, and they were all great educators, as are you. And I appreciate your service. You know, I think you are what has made this district so great for so many years, your dedication and your effort. So just thank you.
And I'll just double what everyone said. Congratulations to all of you. You know, enjoy your retirement, and thank you for everything you've done in educating our kids. We've been a very successful district, but that's because we've had great teachers like you, great leaders who've inspired kids. And I know some of you more personally than others, and you've all, from what I hear, you've all done a great job inspiring your students, and you'll be missed. And we'll have to see if the next generation can live up to the high standards you set. So congratulations again. Moving on, report of the District Teachers Association representative. Craig, do you want Rachel to speak first, or are you going to speak too?
Mr. Friedman, it'll just be Rachel tonight for the DTA.
Okay, Craig just left anyways. Okay, Rachel, you can speak.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello again, President Friedman, Board of Trustees, district leadership, and community members. Congratulations to all of the retirees recognized tonight. Your service has touched countless lives, and I hope you enjoy retirement. First, I would like to report about last week's professional development. As you know, a small group of teacher leaders came together for endless hours of work this summer to create PD for this year. The feedback from our teachers has been extremely positive. They enjoyed it, they learned a lot, and they were very appreciative of the hard work of the organizers like Savvy and Jessica. Because district leadership pushed so hard for so long to have us come back to in-person learning during a global pandemic, we only had 5 days to learn how to completely recreate our curriculum and prepare students on for Monday. We drank from the fire hose of instructional technology tools, but had no time to prepare how to use those tools in our classrooms before students started school. Despite the hard work of our teacher leaders to prepare us for distance learning in a very short time, teachers with all years of experience feel like we are back in our first year of teaching. We are stressed, our mental health is deteriorating, we are exhausted, just like a first-year teacher after their first week of school. Not only did the district leadership's push for in-person learning and the incredibly late decision to go to distance learning create incredibly stressful work environment for all teachers and staff, it also created huge inequities for our most marginalized students. To give you some background of my knowledge in this subject, I'm the technology coordinator at Hillsdale. I teach guided studies, which is a support class for some of our most vulnerable students. This summer, I sat on 5 different return to school committees, including the technology committee, which discussed hotspots, Chromebooks, the budget for technology, and all of the documents that go along with implementing these tools. We met as a committee every week since April. Earlier this week, you all received a petition from a group of teachers who are infuriated with the inequities the district has enabled during this global pandemic. We had many, many teachers who were willing to refuse to work because we have over 1,000 families without the internet. That is 1,000 families who could not enter our educational space for the entire first week of school. It was not until the petition came to light on Sunday that district leadership attempted to explain the delay and told us they sent their, quote, bulldog of an executive assistant to call Verizon to figure out why they weren't here yet. She called on Monday, the hotspots got here today. Now that means administrators need to deliver every hotspot to student homes to make sure they have them in time to come to school on Monday. We have no extra staff for this, so teachers and classified staff, again, are sacrificing themselves to make up for the district's lack of equity. That means our most vulnerable students will be a week behind in Canvas knowledge, relationship building, and content. This is unacceptable. Teachers tried to do their best, best they could this week, and they did fantastic work. They allowed students to call into Zoom class, tried to help students navigate Canvas on their phones, using the students' personal data plans to do so. Because of the district's inability to provide technology, we excluded over 10% of students from learning this week. Teachers did the best they possibly could in a nearly impossible environment with so much fighting against us. In the technology committee, we urge the district to hire more technology support for our tech help desk, email, hotline, phone number, and text line. As of last week, we only had 5 classified team members to support all students and family across the entire district with technology needs this week. They have been overwhelmed by the needs of our district. In the technology committee, we were told that we'd be able to use Zoom through Canvas. We were told the district would set up our Zoom accounts to protect us from Zoom bombers. This did not happen. This week, there were many unfortunate instances of extremely inappropriate behavior on Zoom. Instead of the district reaching out to the group of teachers who have been working day and night to get our schools ready for distance learning, our technology coordinators, they decided at 7:30 p.m. last night to turn on the authentication for Zoom. This means the students who did not know how to log into Zoom with their student emails or anyone calling into Zoom would not have access to class. There was no notice, there was no time. This would have excluded all students without internet, students with special needs who need assistance logging into Zoom even without the authentication, and our English learners. They quickly backtracked after administrators realized what this would mean for students if they had no guidance or instruction. In the technology committee, we told the district that 1,000 hotspots was not enough. We were told they had money for more, yet they didn't order more until this week. We were told we would be 1-to-1 this year, but we're still waiting on 2,000 Chromebooks scheduled to be here in September. Additionally, they promised outdoor spaces at every school site to create access for students who do not have the internet. To the best of my knowledge, there is not a single outdoor space ready in our district, yet over 1,000 students still do not have hotspots. If the district truly cared about equity as they so proudly proclaim, they would put our most marginalized students in the forefront of their minds when making vital decisions like this. Instead, their actions and inactions have proven the opposite. Board of Trustees, I urge you to ask some serious questions about the lack of preparedness. Questions like, why, if the district knew that they had a $300,000 budget for hotspots, did they only order 1,000? Why is there no scholarship program for families who cannot afford the district's Chromebook insurance policy? Why, if we applied and received the 1 million project, did we order hotspots from Verizon and not Sprint, which is required in the 1 million project? Why did they know we were going to order 1,000 hotspots in May, or we would need to order 1,000 hotspots in May, but not order them until mid to late July, so they arrived just today? There are many wins and positive moments from this week of school because of the hard work of our teachers, staff, and administrators. We have so many people around the district working extremely hard to get our schools, teachers, students, and staff ready for distance learning. Unfortunately, this week has exposed the lack of preparedness by the district. Our students and families deserve answers to why many students could not access their education this week. We deserve transparency and clear communication from district leadership. We need ongoing learning, development, and support so that we can best teach our students in a digital environment. There was no plan in the summer. Let's at least have a plan going into the fall that supports all students, teachers, and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Report of the CSEA Chapter 519 representative. That's Carrie Velez.
Good evening, President Friedman, members of the board, Dr. Scully, and everyone here tonight. I am Carrie, representing CSEA Chapter 519's e-board. Happy first week of school. First, we as an e-board are proud of our CSEA members who have either volunteered or worked the site distribution days last week. Even with our return to work MOU still with the district for review, classified showed up, got in the line with site admin, took temperatures, handed out Chromebooks, textbooks, and supplies to roughly 9,000 of our students across the district. Thank you, classified. 12-month maintenance, operations, and district office classified, we see you too. Thank you for keeping our sites running, clean, and maintained. We continue to reach out to the district for dates and times to review and settle both the reassignment and return to work agreements to ensure a safe and equitable workplace environment during this time. The CSEA negotiations team met with the district and mediator this week. While we listened and are carefully considering the district's most recent proposal, our team feels like we still haven't been heard. Just a reminder, we went to impasse to help our lowest paid and most vulnerable employees whose Kaiser HMO premiums increased, which netted them a decrease in pay for the calendar year 2020. Even without a global pandemic, we all should have a right to affordable health care. All summer long, we have heard from you how our schools should provide equitable solutions for everyone. We couldn't agree more, but this must include classified staff as well. Our county is still on the COVID-19 watch list. Thank you to the majority of site admin who have met with classified staff and come to an agreement on flexible workplace arrangements for the foreseeable future. And contrary to some opinions, the majority of clerical work can be accomplished remotely as well with modifications to standard processes. However, not all staff have been given the proper tools to do so. One example, IAs who provide vital support to teachers and students currently lack full Zoom licensing, which limits their ability to assist and contribute within the classroom. We recognize that these are unprecedented times and the tremendous efforts made to prepare for the school year. Classified staff is equally committed to making the school year a success. While we have a seat at the table, we'd like to emphasize that we want to be heard, recognized, and treated fairly. I'd like to thank you for your time this evening and have a good one.
Thank you. Next is the report of the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association representative, Janine Diamond.
Good evening, Dr. Skelly, Board of Trustees and community members. It's Jean Diamond. I would like to say that we at the adult school, the teachers, staff, and everyone else, we really missed Mr. T. I have a little story on Mr. T, personal story. My father, Mr. Diamond, actually hired him at Crestmore High School as a school counselor back in the early 70s, I believe. And then when Mr. T came to Burlingame High School, I had him as a senior. So he was my mentor for me during senior year of high school, which was a great support. And then when I came to the adult school, when I was working at the adult school and he came there, he again was my mentor there at the adult school. So he will be very well missed by me as well as the staff and teachers at the adult school. So our highlights for us for this last week, we started back this last week at the adult school, and our active adults program has actually started this week, and they've been really doing Zoom classes and doing all of the things that are needed to do, which has been really great. We had our tech committee for the school did all kind of trainings this week for our teachers so that we can be ready to start teaching in a week. And so we did tech trainings on Remind, Google Classroom, Zoom, Computer Basics. We also wanted to point out that the adult school is offering career ed classes in health, as well as professional communication. We also wanted to point out that we also have a nutrition class that's being offered also that's free, that's being offered online. And we also are working on our efforts for having equity with technology for our students. And that's our report. So thank you very much, Dr. Skelly and the board.
Thank you, Ms. Diamond. Before we go to the next item, I just have a quick question for either Ms. Chalkley or Dr. Skelly. We still don't have a student board member, but school started again. Will we have one in the
That is correct. We don't have student board members yet. The first meeting of the UASB is September 1st. So we hope to have board members by the September 10th meeting.
Thank you. Can you just tell them that at least I requested that someone step up?
They know, but I'll make sure.
Thank you. Item L1, Fall 2020 Education Reopen Plan and First Days Report. Dr. Skelly.
Thank you very much. This is a report that we've been giving to the board at our meetings every time since March or April, talking about returning to school, and now we're doing it. This report here contains the traditional reports from our principals about the first days of school And it also touches on some of the issues that were mentioned by board members at the last meeting that they would like to hear more about. So the agenda here tonight, if we go to present, the slide 2, please. We'll touch base on technology, mention some of the pieces here. I would just like to just comment that we don't have 1,000 students without internet. We have maybe 100 schools are identifying 5, 10, 15 students who have not been online. Kids have been showing up to class. Kids have used internet connections by hook or by crook, but now we do have those hotspots that were mentioned, and we're excited about getting those out to each and every student who needs them, plus students who want them tomorrow. So we'll talk a little bit about technology. We'll give you an update on independent study. We'll talk about special education and the related services, about how we're providing meals for eligible students. We'll hear from the principals about the first days of schools. We'll talk about some health data, and we'll give you a chance for you to ask questions and then give us some feedback as we go forward. So this next slide is about technology. I'm going to ask, excuse me. Okay, I'll ask Mr. Simon Bettis, who's our Director of Technology, to speak now. We typically, just for those who are paying attention, we have both we have sort of the hardware pieces that Mr. Bettis will report on, and I would like to thank his staff, not his staff, but the staff who work in the department that he heads up, for their work these past few weeks getting things done. They have been just extraordinary in terms of helping us get to the place that we are. They're some of the finest people that you will meet. And they work with the educational technology people, the teachers and staff who also support technology. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, Mr. Bettis.
All right, thank you. Can you guys, can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, very good, thank you. Good evening, President Friedman, member of the board, and Dr. Skelly. I would like just to give you just a brief summary on where we are with technology. So since the beginning of summer, to prepare for distance learning, we inspected, cleaned, disinfected about 7,500 Chromebooks to be distributed to our students. And as of Tuesday, we have distributed about 4,313 Chromebooks of the 7,500 that you see there. In addition to that, we have just received, yesterday in fact, the 2,200 additional Chromebooks to meet our one-to-one initiative. We will begin to work to set up these devices beginning next week, and hope to have it out to the school sites by the end of the month. Now that the new school year has begun in distance learning, the district want to ensure that every student is connected to their classes. We have ordered 1,000 hotspots to provide to families who do not have internet service at their home. And we have received these devices this morning, and we're happy to say that the school sites now have them and ready for distribution to their students. We hope to purchase additional devices as we get more demands for hotspots. The district also wanted to provide safe spaces around the school for outdoor learning, with input from site administration, facility and operation personnel, and our health department. We were able to identify locations to install additional wireless access points. And I'm happy to report this afternoon, we're able to complete 4 school sites, and the remainder of the comprehensive sites are expected to be completed by next Wednesday. We have also provisioned 800 Zoom accounts for teachers, admins, and various support staff. And since the beginning of school here, Monday, our teachers and staff have hosted over 7,000 Zoom meetings. Finally, we have provided 2 school sites, that is Cappuccino and Burlingame, with new laptops to replace their aging equipment. So to say the least, this past 4 months, it's been quite a learning experience for us all. I think that the tech department were able to adapt to the current situation. For example, we were able to provide solution to various mission critical personnel to be able to work from home while still have access to their district files. We have recently created a tech support system, not just for our staff, but for our students as well, in the form of phone support, email, text. And I hope in the near future here, we will also launch our live online chat support on our website. This support system is available from 7:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock in the evening. Obviously, there were some bumps and challenges along the way as we try to figure out all the logistics. But I'm glad to report that we are able to provide assistance and solution to the district overall operations. To that end, I'd like to acknowledge our site administration, teachers, and staff that has made this past few days a success, not only with the distribution of technology devices, but for a smooth transition to this school year. I do have a sophomore at one of our schools now, and I ask her every day how things are going, and happy to hear that things are going pretty well for her. Able to connect to her classes, no issues to report of, at least from her. Another special acknowledgement is to our electrical department led by Carl Vernali. He and his team, they are responsible for the rewiring, installation of close to about 90 outdoor access points in just a few weeks, which is pretty remarkable, regarding the time that we have to get this done. To that end, that concludes my tech report.
The next slide is regarding independent study.
Want to
Mr.
take
Scatena.
questions on tech first?
Sure. Sure. That's fine.
Does anyone have any questions on tech that they'd like to ask? I can't see everyone, so just speak up.
Yeah.
Question.
I guess I'm interested in the contrast between what we just heard from the teachers union report and the administration report. I mean, if you listen to the teachers union report, this was an all-out almost catastrophe, and that's not my impression of what actually happened out there in the first week of classes so far. I mean, could you give me your compare and contrast with what you see with what we just heard?
I don't want to get in an argument. I'll just say that we had 1,000 hotspots requested by families. The level of need among those families varied fairly dramatically. I'll just give you one example from a school that reported that they had 234 requests for hotspots, and there were 5 students without connections on the first day. Other schools reported numbers of 22 students who were not connected, 52 students at Cappuccino. So these are numbers that are very, very small. Yes, the hotspots came in later than we would have liked, later than they promised. And we did have to make extra efforts on there. I'm glad we chose not to delay the start of school. Success has many many parents, and I think our teachers do deserve lots of credit there. But I think it would be inaccurate to say that it wasn't a team effort where all aspects of the district team contributed to its success at the start of the year.
So
okay, finish, Peter. I'm sorry.
Just to follow up, the Zoom account, the 800 Zoom accounts that are provisioned, are the Zoom accounts, do we have enough Zoom accounts, and are the Zoom accounts out there sufficient with sufficient licenses so that people can use them to provide instruction? Are we having problems for the providing instruction to students through Zoom?
So one of the points that has been brought up, and I'll ask Dr. Wade to talk about this a little bit in special ed. All of our teachers certainly have Zoom accounts and can teach groups. There may be a need for some instructional aides to have access. That's something that we're working through now.
Okay.
Greg, and then Bob.
So I was kind of going to ask the same thing, but in a different way. I think one of the points that was made, and I hear the difference between the chasm between two stories, the tale, but what about the equity issue? If these are the ones that are struggling the most, what are we doing to make sure that they get those devices? It still sounds like we have much more to deliver. So how many do we need to still get out there so that it's 100%?
I'll let the principals talk about that when they do their report. But my sense is that from my conversations with principals, that every student who needs a hotspot will have one by tomorrow at the end of the day.
What about devices, though? I mean, there's two parts.
They all have devices too, but I'll ask the principals.
Can I follow that up? I'm sorry, Bob. So it sounds like we've distributed 4,300 Chromebooks, but we have another, with the most recent delivery, 5,000 more in our supply somewhere. Am I right or wrong? I'm assuming that we would like people to use Chromebooks, but these students are not device short. They're using MacBooks or their HP computer or their Dell computer. That's why they haven't been distributed, is because the students are happy with the computers that they personally own and are not taking us up on our offer of Chromebooks, of which we now have 5,000 sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
That's right.
That's correct.
Yes.
In other words, we might never use many of those 5,000 unless we force.
That brings up a question, but
what?
That brings up a whole nother question, is like, did you over purchase versus under purchase? But I don't want to go there.
The question becomes, Greg, do we want to force someone's child who likes a MacBook and has a MacBook? Do we want to say, no, you can't use your MacBook, you have to use one of our Chromebooks?
True, but I mean,
that's a different issue.
Right. It didn't come across that way when, Rachel was talking. It seemed like the ones who needed to get something doesn't have anything. I don't know the accuracy of that. So I'd like to hear the principals talk about that a little bit more in depth when it comes to
from Chromebooks. It seems like our inventory never went below 2,500.
You could ask Simon that too.
Simon, it seems like from Chromebooks, our inventory was always in excess of 2,000. So anyone who needed it could have gotten it at any time. Is that correct?
Right. And kind of going with what Peter was saying, even Simon mentioned there were bumps.
I asked Simon.
Let Simon answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so we currently, before the 2,200 Chromebooks arrived, we had 2,500. So the school sites were, made the decision that we need to, during their surveys, that they decide to provide Chromebooks only to students who do not have a device at home. So for those who, like my daughter, she has her own personal laptop, so she would choose to, at this time, to bypass the district equipment to provide those Chromebooks to those who doesn't have one at home. Now that we have enough Chromebooks to to provide to all students, we can now, strategize to start distributing to every student in our district.
Well, are we going to force them to take a Chromebook, like your daughter, whatever she's using, assuming it's not a Chromebook? If she doesn't want to switch, does she have to?
So there will be programs in the near future that our curriculum department will, can better answer that question. There are certain programs that will require students to use a Chromebook.
And just one last question before I go to Bob. Just
wait.
Can you be very clear? Can you be very clear from what Rachel Lauderdale said? No one who needed a computer was turned down or wasn't given a computer last Monday. Everyone who either didn't have, who had their own or needed one had a computer when we started school. Is that correct?
Everyone who needed a device, a Chromebook on the first day of school, they should be able to get a device.
They were able.
Yes.
Or would or did.
They did.
Huge difference.
We
they
said
did,
no
and that's why the numbers are 4,300.
Right.
Where it is.
We said no to no one. Anyone who said I need a
That's
computer,
correct.
we said yes. Here it is.
That is correct.
So
That's what I want to hear.
So wait, I'm not finished. You're
okay. Sorry, Greg.
Questions I got to ask.
Okay.
First, Simon, thank you so much for the clarification. I think that's important. I mean, to me, it's important to make sure that everybody who needs a device gets a device. Now, the other stuff about clarification, I think, got it. I understand. When it gets to the aides, though, the instructional aides will be able to, especially IAs that need to do work one-on-one with with students. Are they going to get access to the Chromebooks or at least laptops that they can utilize?
Yes, they will have access to not only a Zoom account, but as well as devices as well.
Okay. My last question is about Zoom. There was some interest about authentication or being able to do the Zoom. I don't even know. It's just, I know what it is. It's you're here in a meeting and then somebody comes in and bombs you and
Party crasher.
So what is that? Is there any conversation that we can deal with on that? Is that been taken care of, or?
So we will, we have started that conversation, and tomorrow, Julia and Brian Simmons and myself, we'll have a strategy in place moving forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Bob, but obviously on Zoom accounts, they seem to be relatively cheap, 800 at 31.5. If we need more, we can afford it. So I don't think
we have plenty now that we have the licenses that we should be able to provide every teachers, certainly support staff that who needs them.
Okay, great. Bob?
The questions I had have mostly been discussed. However, how many Chromebooks do you think we're going to have on hand by the time we get through distributing all that are out there? I mean, what's our safety stock going to be, or on-hand inventory?
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, our current enrollment is around 9,200 students right now. We should have several hundred left in stock to as backup equipment, as in case we need to repairs or breakage and things like that. And we will distribute those evenly on all the school sites.
Okay, that brings me to the second question. And the District Teachers Association rep mentioned insurance. And I know we've talked about Chromebooks a lot, like all summer, ever since. And I've always wondered about damages. Are students being asked to buy insurance, or what is the deal with damages and lost computers?
That's a good question. We do offer insurance through the district. We offer them at 1 year, 2 years, 3 years to 4 years, depending on your sophomore, junior, and so forth like that. And they get a little bit of price break if you purchase the entire 4 years. I think the price for 4 years is $60, and 1 year is $25, and that covers breakage if they break the screen and those sort of things. They drop equipment. They're not forced to purchase this, but just like anything else, with our supplies, is that just like books, if you lose it, if you tear it, you're gonna have to pay the fine, and then parents have been notified about that, and then so it is their option to either purchase the insurance or take it at your own risk, basically. Now, with that said, in our policy, we also offer a scholarship or to provide assistance to families who meet certain criteria with that.
So is this real insurance, or is this like iPhone insurance that it's some contractor carrying the deal and you send the computer back in and they plug it in, they recycle it somewhere else, that kind of insurance? And is it all encompassing?
So it's real insurance. I think it's done through the district. If, let's say, if you're a student, you break your device and you purchase the insurance, you turn it in, we'll give you a brand new Chromebook.
Are we self-insuring this, Simon?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we're going to be selling 4-year refundable policies that will be are we going to either have COVID-19 for 4 years, or are we going to have distance learning or using them for 4 years? I mean, that's just curious,
Yeah.
You may not be the brain trust behind this, because I am concerned, because then we're absorbing a lot of risk, and sometimes you make money on that and sometimes you lose money on that. And I hope we have transparency that if for some reason we end up with a profit center rather than a cost center, we look at rebating or keeping the cost affordable. I mean, I think we need to hear more about this. So anyway.
Linda, Ms. Lee Dwyer.
I had a question about, I have a couple questions. I'm very interested in self-insurance. I think that's just amazing that we did that, and we probably should have someone take a look at that. But the question I have is your staffing, Simon. How many people do you have doing all of this work? Have you had over the summer doing all this work?
So over the summer, to prepare the 7,500 or so Chromebooks, we did hire internally temp workers, to prepare, to help us prepare all of these Chromebooks. Now, it's tough. Not only do we have to prepare the schools, but at the same time, we are answering phone calls, for student supports and teachers who are working remotely. Right now, our district technology staff are handling the inbound calls. We have 4 techs here in the district office, with the addition of Daryl Jackson, who is our system admin, and myself. So it's basically all hands on deck at this time. So, but we do have adequate support. In my mind, at this time, we do have adequate support. They are tied down to their desk mostly, so we do have to, call in other techs just if there's a need to, to provide additional support.
Do you have, do we have tech support at each site also? Do you
That
have
is correct. We do have that, yes.
Okay, so each school has one, and then you have the core at the district office. I mean, I am concerned, given the number of Chromebooks that we have out and hotspots and all of the work that's being done, that we be appropriately staffed. And I mean, it could be that we need a couple more people, because there's just a whole lot of work to be done, and we have to have a call center, and we have to have a call center that can answer in different languages, and we have to have, we have to be able to pick up a computer and drop off another, or do all the different things that go with supporting this amount of technology, in addition to Zoom, in addition to just the hard stuff at the sites. And it just seems like it's gotten to be COVID has put us in a whole different world with technology. So I would hope that the district is looking very hard at the best way to staff this, because it needs to work for your department and it needs to work for the schools and the students. So that's my comment on this.
So my last comment before we turn it back to Dr. Skelly is, I would just appreciate in the future, Dr. Skelly, you tell us if you're going, you tell the district, someone tells us if we're going to ask that every student use one of our Chromebooks, or if we're going to continue to let them use their MacBook, their HP, their Dell, and explain the rationale behind whatever decision is made. I think it's an interesting follow-up.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Very
Shall we
good
go on?
report. Very good report, Simon.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go to, I think the next topic is independent study.
Yeah, so we have the unique experience of essentially building a school of about 516 students in a 2 weeks period of time, with 8 moving parts, meaning 8 schools that are moving at the same time while trying to serve all the other students. So with that said, we as a district took on the full-time students in a similar fashion as we would an independent study program that we currently run. It's just we've sort of more than doubled our capacity, so we added staff. So the district office, through my office, is coordinating the full-time students. It's 135 students, and we have 2 full-time teachers helping to run that program. The students are in a full day, anywhere from 5, 6, or 7 classes. Some of those students might also be taking community college courses or other courses outside the district. The sites took on the sort of what we call hybrid or blended schedules, where the students blended either synchronous distance learning with independent study. And as you can see, the numbers there that range from about 381 students. That number's fluctuating. So it's about 516 students are served in about 19 sections of independent study right now. And you can see the teachers, this has also moved. There's, I think, some changeover at one of the schools where some movement in regards to the sections that were allocated, and the teachers' assignments have changed a little bit. But overall, in about a 2-week period of time, we were able to move students into independent study and have students actually interacting in our Edgenuity platform for independent study. I do want to point out that the term independent study is sort of a traditional term. We're not really doing independent study per se for CDE. It's more about asynchronous, unscheduled instructional time, but still managed by a teacher in a similar type of approach as we do for independent study. We're offering a wide variety of classes. I do want to address that increase that was made. It's about $60,000 you alluded to earlier, some of the board members. That was due to several classes that that students wanted to take that we did not originally predict that they were going to want to take or historically would ever take. And so we had to make the choice whether that to force the student to pick something that they didn't want or pay the increased amount for these students. Several of them are AP classes, elective courses, or career tech courses. And so we trained the staff, the teachers last week, and already we have students at all the sites, and we have our full-time students interacting. It's been relatively smooth. Some of the issues that we've had is getting some textbooks for some of the newer classes that historically we never offered. Usually there's not textbook connected, but for some of the AP classes, they do require a textbook for participation. Very few, but we have to get those ordered and out to students. Luckily with independent study, students could just get ahead on, because it's self-paced, students can get ahead on some of their subjects, and then they can catch up with the other subjects that they might be a little behind on. These enrollment numbers also do not include our on-site credit recovery programs. Each school site has has one or two sections of that to address student credit recovery, similar to summer school.
Thank you, Mr. Scadana. Any questions from the board on independent study? Okay, so let's go on to nutritious meals to eligible students. This is an important part of our work to try to make sure that our students have enough to eat. Ms. McManus.
Hi, good evening. The goal for student nutrition is to provide meals, access to meals to all students. And we have meals that are available with multiple choices to all students at the comprehensive high schools during the day. In other words, if somebody comes into one of our satellite classes that are outside, they can have meals there, and they have a variety of choices. At Peninsula High School, the students receive brunch, they receive lunch, and then before they leave, they are given meals to take home so that they will have access to meals. Students participating in distant learning can pick up meals, either one meal or multiple meals between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And the interest in doing this was to ensure that our students come in early, pick up the meals, and then get back home so that they can enroll in their distant learning classes when they commence in the morning. Next slide, please. We also are in the process of setting up satellite nutrition services that will be available and convenient to some of our neighborhoods at 3 of our schools, Cappuccino, Hillsdale, and San Mateo. And we are trying to launch this program by September 10th. In the first week of school, we realized that we had very minimal participation. And in fact, the meals were significantly down from the prior year. And the first day of participation at Ericon, there were 7 meals served. Burlingame was 2 meals. Cappuccino was 3. Hillsdale was 0. Mills High School was 4. Penn was 6. And San Mateo High School was 22. That was an indicator to our staff that we didn't think our students were aware school was open and that they were not aware that meals were available. So our student nutrition staff immediately jumped on this, and they started phoning the students that had, that were participating in the meal program from last year and this year, and informing that their student could get meals and they were available. And we are finding that what they said is they were unaware of, things had changed, and B, that all of a sudden our numbers are starting to improve. An example of this is at Cappuccino, and today we serve 50 meals. So we went from 3 to 50, and hopefully that number will continue to escalate up. And so students have, can eat and have food. We're also creating flyers, and we're going to distribute them in multiple languages about the different plans we have, the meal availability, and encourage students to enroll in the program, because we're down about 1,000 students from last year, and we feel as if we need to really do whatever we can, network, call people, and make sure that people are aware that they can enroll in the program. And Dennis and I and Jeff Gilbert, Brett Stevens had a meeting today, and we are actually going to collaborate with the Peace Pantry and also Student Nutrition, so that we give as many options to families and students to come pick up the meals. And again, everybody's really working hard to get this satellite program launched by September 10th. And it will be a program that is going to morph. In other words, we're going to have to change it as things work and don't change work. We'll have to change it throughout the period to make sure that, we're the very best that we can be. Any questions?
Actually, mine's just a comment. I just think I love the flexibility that you guys are having and really trying to stay on it, because a lot of times the most vulnerable families won't know what's going on. And if we don't reach out to them, we're not going to be able to help them. I do have so thank you, you guys. I really appreciate the work that you're doing there. My question is, during the summer and during the spring, how many students did we serve overall? And do you know offhand?
I don't recall offhand, but I think we didn't, it was really from last spring that we had the most participation. And because, at that point, the state allowed us to serve everybody. And so we were, really engaging a lot of families in the community in this. And I'll get that number back to you.
Could you just send it to us, email?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay, so let's go on to special ed now. Dr. Wade.
Thank you, Dr. Skelly. Good evening, board members and senior cabinet members, principals and community. As I've transitioned to the school district this summer, I've noticed a strong equity focus of our work. This environment is challenging, to be sure, for all of us, and perhaps especially challenging for our students and families with children who have disabilities. I want to recognize the dedication of our faculty, our staff, our instructional assistants, and the patience and perseverance of our students and families as we move forward. As a department, we have created priorities so that we continue to remind ourselves of the things that we need to keep on the forefront. We're focusing on the health and safety of students, staff, and the San Mateo Union High School District community. We're focusing on providing high quality distance learning instruction and opportunities for all students. We are focusing on delivering a free and appropriate public education to the maximum extent possible as indicated in the IEP and our distance learning plans. We will commit to provide ongoing communication with families to keep them informed. And we'll continue to monitor the changing health conditions as they affect our ability to bring students back to school in person for learning, convene IEPs when necessary, when challenges arise that we need to have collaborative solutions. Next slide, please. For students who receive special education services, instruction and related services will be provided in a manner that ensures the student can have their IEP implemented in this distance learning environment. The implementation of the student's IEP in this distance learning model may vary from the manner in which the student's IEP is carried out during in-person instruction at school. Students' case managers will be in contact with parents and students to ensure access to the instructional means that are the most meaningful and engaging for them. And I will tell you that case managers have worked very hard this summer to make sure that those connections with families have occurred. And in the event that there are families who still need to have outreach from their case manager, I am happy to entertain a phone call from you, but I do encourage you to reach out to your child's case manager. If for whatever reason you don't know who that person is, please do feel free to contact me and I will help you find that person. Teachers and our instructional staff will make every effort to engage students in active learning. And just as it relates to our previous conversation about technology, we have asked for department chairs to ensure that we understand which of our instructional aides need access to premium Zoom accounts, and we are setting those up as we speak, which allows for our instructional aides to go in and out of classrooms, as well as to monitor student engagement in those classrooms. So we are working very hard to make sure that those technology needs of our staff are set up and that they have the training necessary to do so, in addition to having the appropriate technology to participate, whether it's a Chromebook. Many of our students who have more significant disabilities require additional assistive technology that may be different than our general issue Chromebook, and we are looking at each one of those cases on an individual basis. For students served who have more significant disabilities, we have a host of also programs who support students in therapeutic milieus. We will continue to be monitoring the conditions that would allow for those students perhaps to come back to school in small cohorts in a safe manner. This work is very challenging, and for some of our students with more significant disabilities, it is very difficult for them to engage in this environment. Again, we'll continue to monitor Governor Newsom's information, as well as how that relates to how we can bring students back effectively and safely to school and ensure safety of our students and our staff. Next slide, please. 3 specific areas that we'll continue to consider for our students who require special education services. We use ongoing assessments to make sure that we understand their needs and their changing needs as it relates to their instructional programs. We are building protocols and procedures right now for in-person assessments to ensure health and safety protocols can be followed. Our team at the district office, led by John Bartfield, working with our health protocols, and Sarah in our district office, are making sure that we have appropriate consent, appropriate materials, appropriate environments to bring students back safely and individually to have assessments when necessary to ensure that their educational needs can be met. We'll include measures and activities that can be completed virtually in addition to in-person assessments as appropriate with parental consent. In the event that we can complete some of the assessments virtually, we will do so, and we will continue to monitor those environments where we can bring students back. We will continue to provide through our wellness coordinator and a full continuum of mental health services will be provided virtually. April Torres and her team have been working diligently with wellness staff to ensure that whether the student is in need of mental health supports, that they can access those supports virtually. And we'll continue to monitor that, while we do believe that this will be an area where we'll see significant need in the weeks to come for our students who will require therapeutic intervention as the weeks go on. Additionally, for social, emotional, and behavioral health, it's important to remember that students' emotional and behavioral needs during this time of school closure may not be typical for the student, and staff will be vigilant to monitor. In addition to that, we hope that our parents, when they're concerned about a student's social or emotional well-being, that they do reach out to case managers or school administration or myself. I'm happy to have those conversations too. We need to be vigilant about how our students are managing in these very challenging times. For students with more significant social, emotional, behavioral, educational needs, we'll continue to explore options for hybrid models as the health and safety conditions continue to develop. Please have, happy to answer any questions, and I do hope that parents who are watching will please reach out if they have concerns about their children. We're in the process. We had one town hall last week with our transition families. We'll have 3 town hall meetings next week with our families who have children who have needs that are more significant in our programs to support students with autism and in our applied academic curriculum programs. And we'll continue to have town hall meetings to address the concerns as they arise as the semester continues. Again, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Wade?
I have one, Mark.
Yes, Bob, please.
Yeah, no, it's a question. Thank you for the presentation. One of the issues or challenges we've had in the past is child find issues. Is that continuing to go on at the same level, or are we going to have increased difficulty locating students who are eligible for services with us?
That's a wonderful question, and I think that these are challenging times to make sure that we're watching out for students who we may be concerned about. All of the standard measures are still in place. I met with Jennifer Hoff this week in terms of our efforts to support students through our SST process, and those efforts will continue to be in place. So students who are of concern, who are not showing up to class, who are not engaging in the same way, will have the same procedures in place in order to address those concerns. So we're working very hard. We have this year a full staff of school psychologists on site, on each site, and those school psychologists will work closely with our counselors to make sure that students who are in need will absolutely get through our SST process or our student study team process.
Thank you.
Doctors, anyone else?
Yes, I had my hand raised, sorry.
Yeah, I can't see everyone with.
Is that what it is? Okay, sorry. I didn't want to just interrupt. So Dr. Wade, are we having an increase in parents wanting IEPs to talk about accommodations in this environment, in the virtual environment?
At this time, I have not heard of increased concerns or questions regarding that. We do have, we have noticed parents through our first prior written notice that was sent last week that we will be delivering a distance learning plan by August 31st, which will address how we're going to the maximum extent possible, provide instruction in this distance learning environment. It also addresses accommodations and modifications in this environment. Should any parent want to discuss concerns or questions regarding the IEP, we absolutely will convene IEPs to discuss appropriate accommodations as they arise.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else, any board member with a question, please speak up. Okay, Dr. Skelly, next.
Okay, the next slide is about 504 plans, and Dr. Kemke's going to take us through this fairly quickly.
Yeah, so just to make sure we're talking a bit about our students with 504 plans. So we are making sure that they have comparable access to our distance learning program, so Canvas and all the online platforms. And we will continue to work with parents and guardians and the student themselves to make sure that they have the accommodations that they may need. Those 504 plans will be updated and reviewed and, you know, included any kind of accommodations the students might need in this new environment. And the 504 coordinators at each site will make sure that the teachers have access to those 504 plans so they're aware of the accommodations that the students with 504s need. And then we'll continue to work on providing accessible lessons and accommodating the students in any way they have. So parents have questions regarding their child's 504 plan, they should contact their school counselor or the 504 coordinator at each school. That's it for that one.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Just speak up because I only see 5 people, 5 tiles when we're sharing a screen. Okay, Dr. Skelly, no one spoke up. Go to the
Okay,
next.
so maybe I'll ask, could we not show the screen, because all we're going to have is the list of principals here, and then you can see a little bit better. But we're going to go through school reports. What we told folks that we would give them a couple of minutes to describe the first 4 days of school. We're going to do reverse alphabetical, so we'll start with San Mateo High School and then go to Peninsula, Mills, and Middle College.
Okay, I'll stop the share. We need to stop the share. Who's sharing?
Yeah, we'll do that. So up is first is Ms. Hsu.
Okay, we got it.
Hi, good evening, President Friedman, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, and members of the cabinet. I have to start tonight with thank yous. I am incredibly grateful to the San Mateo High School faculty and staff. Otherwise, we would not be in the position that we are currently. Especially Gina Huang, Aura Smithers, our PD and tech ninjas, Adam Gelb, and the student services staff for our Amazon Materials Textbook Distribution Center. It was wonderful to see Kevin stop by a few days to help with the distribution of materials last week. We even had a few of our class of 2020 graduates volunteer to help out. We had many classified staff who stepped up to work extra days to help us distribute materials and get our students what they needed. Our operations crew for the daily setups and breakdowns, sanitizing, disinfecting all the spaces that we have been using on a daily and sometimes hourly basis. Thanks to Mike Holtz and the team of counselors for working 24/7 and adjusting student schedules and doing outreach to families, answering the mountain of emails and questions about their student choices and accommodating last minute changes. Patty Frias, Daniela Galvan, our ELD counselor, Enrique Montaldo, Leah Asanuma, our ELD 1 teachers, Rotem Bluestein Peñalosa for translating our tech presentations to Spanish, Nick Piccinini and Julio Rioja, our ELD IAs. This team worked on making our 2-day tech presentations accessible to our non-English speaking students. As you can see, it truly takes a village to make all of these things come together. We started the week with 2 days of student orientation on Monday and Tuesday. And as I mentioned, we had 2 groups of ELD 1 students on our campus for the orientations with those ELD teachers, instructional aides, counselor, and assistant principal leading them. They are part of our most vulnerable population, and it was really great to be able to connect with them and make sure they got the support they needed. We had to bring them back to campus because many of them do not have Wi-Fi access or stable connections at home, or do not have a home environment conducive to learning. Over the 2-day student tech orientation, we had 7 different sessions. Each ran for 1 period. So we did follow our bell schedule, and it had a full day of 4 classes on Monday with our odd period classes, and on Tuesday, our even classes. The topics covered everything from turning on your computer, especially for our ELD population, intro to Canvas, Zoom, Canvas settings, an intro to all the staff where we had videos, assignments, and explaining what distance learning was. It was pretty incredible on Wednesday, our first day of class, to help some students and kind of log into class, and students were like, this is what it's like. And I had to explain to them, yes, this is what it's going to be like. To do our tech orientation, this sounds pretty crazy, but they were able to get through it with the support of one another. That we placed our teachers in teams of 4, including instructional aid support, to run grade level orientations in Zoom rooms of 80 to 100 students. They included videos, activities, screencasts, they did polling, they had quizzes integrated. And I must say our teachers did an absolutely incredible job of presenting all of this information in a condensed version. The admin, we got to jump into Zoom rooms to check in with teachers, and then also send chats to students to make sure that they stayed engaged. And so it was really nice to see them. Wednesday was actually our first day that students attended contact classes. Again, we invited students back onto campus and had an average of about 40 students spread out over 3 rooms on campus due to poor air quality. At the present time, a teacher, me, and another assistant principal are monitoring these classrooms with the help of 2 bus drivers. Thank you, Dan and Liz, to help send some extra people to help support, excuse me, and supervise our students during their breaks to make sure they're maintaining social distancing and keeping their masks on. Over these past couple of days, I certainly got my steps running around, making sure each student was logged into the classes, answering questions, and to troubleshoot. These are the first students that today received their hotspots, yet we're finding that some of them still want to return to campus. Some of our students do have Wi-Fi at home, but are choosing to return to campus to attend classes. This is primarily due to the reasons before of spotty Wi-Fi, that they have Wi-Fi, but because there are multiple people living under one household, their connection is not so great, or their environment is just not conducive to them being able to focus. I will be working on a long-term plan to accommodate these students, as right now we're working on a day-to-day basis. We gave out more Chromebooks than we expected to. While many of our students have their own devices, one of our norms is that students have their video on while they're in class. And so some of their home devices do not have cameras. And so over the past week, we have checked out 321 Chromebooks and another 273 since March. So we have about 600 Chromebooks out at San Mateo High School. Every morning we've been doing material pickups from 7:45 to 8:30 just before classes start to make sure students have what they needed. Teachers have made packets, prepared kits, have given me supply lists so that we could make sure that students were able to fully participate in their classes, everything from protractors and rulers to colored pencils and glue sticks. Thank you to the San Mateo PTO for helping me bag and assemble them. All in all, I think we are all a little bit more tired, but who isn't the first week of school? However, I am excited to embark on this new way of teaching and learning. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I know that you had specific questions on Chromebooks and Wi-Fi for particular schools, but hopefully I provided some information to answer those questions. Thank you.
Dr. Scully, you just want to keep going?
Yes, please.
Members of the board, Board President Friedman, Superintendent Dr. Skelly, and members of the district cabinet, we're excited to be here tonight talking about Peninsula. I just want to briefly acknowledge that Larry Teixeira was both the principal for me and Fred Wolfgram. And so one of the last conversations we had with him together was that he said, I must have done something right. You guys seem to do all right up there. So I really appreciated his guidance over the years. Okay, so we started on Monday, and over a course of 4 days, we did orientation with students. Students started off with, they'd come on the site, pick up technology in about 25% at the time, and then they would engage in an online orientation where they could either do it from the site for students who needed access, or they could return home and complete the second part of the orientation from there. Each of the students were given access to our mental health resources. We built that in. It was really important for the families and students. And then they were led through a comprehensive training that was done to make sure that all students were ready to access online services and engage in their classes. And so the great news that we had is that out of our total enrollment, 88% of our families came to the school and participated. Out of those 88%, only 4 kids came without a parent or guardian. So it was just tremendous. It also helped that we had about 85% returning from last year from the school. Hotspots today for our population. Well, tomorrow we go live with all of our students going to all their classes. They were given homework from the days that they had orientation. So hopefully it's ready to go. But in any case, thanks to Simon Bettis and his crew, they got in this morning the hotspots. My staff was tremendous. We had 50 hotspots to deliver today, and we successfully delivered 40 of them. And so with the exception of 10 students on our site who were not home, we basically were able to deliver all of our hotspots. So every student should be ready to go. Students are really excited. That was the constant theme. We had a couple parents who expressed an interest, being very excited about the new site when it's ready to go. Kids were more curious than anything about it. I want to thank Ms. McManus for also helping organize the food service for our kids. Families were very relieved to be able to access food, particularly on days where they may not be able to attend to the site. She also helped assist along with transportation and providing vans for us so that we can assist on days if kids can't access the site, that we can bring food to them. In addition, one of the things that was also very interesting that came out of it is that we found that bandwidth was a little bit of a concern. We're meeting with Simon tomorrow. So when every kid got on the Zoom calls, there was a little bit of a challenge, but wasn't an overarching hiccup. So when kids come next week, but over 70% of our kids expressed interest coming to the site. Our outdoor spaces are ready. We had it set up, and we did that for part of our orientation so parents could physically see what the space would look like. I also want to thank our maintenance staff. It was great. They were throughout the days that we did our orientation. They were constantly cleaning, disinfecting spaces. Parents were very impressed with the safety precautions put in place. And then next week, every family came with a mask. We didn't have to tell one student to wear it properly. Transportation went through. We were a little lighter in the mornings because parents came with their kids. But in the afternoon, parents left and kids went home on the buses. And so we're gonna have probably a little bit higher attendance than we had there, but everything's in place for a successful year. And also 80% of our kids needed Chromebooks, and out of our total population that attended, over 93% have them.
Ms. Dzinski.
Good evening. Thank you for having us join you tonight. As you can tell, we're very excited about this week so far. There's lots of excitement and energy in the air, and you certainly get a feel for that when you visit our classes online and see our students and our teachers. We've had several successful highlights since we brought our staff back in early August. At the top of our list, though, was our chance to see our students in person as they participated in our drive-through registration and textbook pickup. We truly relished the moment that we had to see each one of them and marveled at how much they've grown since March, and just the opportunities to just even engage in short conversations from the cars with parents and students was truly our highlight. There were staff who worked at Mills. The staff who are coming to work at Mills are really joyful, and they're happy to be here together, doing incredible teamwork during the textbook distribution. Over 1,200 individual boxes were prepared for students per their schedule, the textbooks that they needed, if they needed a Chromebook. And those were packed up and prepared in just a few days by a very small team of staff, including our main office assistants, attendance clerk, campus aides, athletic trainer, volunteer teachers, and our administration. Last week, our PD week with our teachers focused not just on the technical aspects of distance learning, Zoom and Canvas, but it also gave us an opportunity to continue to do some of our deeper equity work around culturally responsive teaching and neuroscience, as well as share out some of our readings over the summer. I'm incredibly proud of our teachers who made this heavy lift and who all had working Zoom links, close to 250 Zoom links working Monday morning, so that when kids went on Canvas to find their first period English 3 classroom, that Zoom link was up and working, and there was a teacher in that virtual classroom waiting to greet them. We also had orientation topics similar to what you've heard about, including Canvas, but we also included our wellness support systems, our anonymous alert system, digital literacy, and creation of class norms and class vision statements. So we combined the technical with some of the adaptive culture work that needs to be done to build community in a distance learning environment. I've visited nearly every class this week. I still have a handful of classes to get to tomorrow. I think I've been in well over 50 classes, and teachers are quick to put me in breakout rooms or to have me say hello to teachers. Sometimes I am just observing. Sometimes I'm assisting teachers with tech trouble in the moment, or students with tech trouble. For example, in one classroom, a chat was going, a student couldn't get into the classroom, and I happened to be in there, so I was able to call the student on the phone and work with her to get her her link going. So I'm just finding, incredible opportunities by being in these classrooms when they're happening. And that's where I'm spending the majority of my day, is with our students and teachers in the classrooms. Our PTO held its first meeting last night. We had record attendance. We're finding that our parents want to engage with us even more. They want to talk about common topics of interest in this environment, and so we're looking forward to that. We've had good attendance. We'll be focusing on our hotspot distribution. We had 303 requests for hotspots. We have 105 received today, with 98 students on our priority list. So we're going to work as hard as we can to get those hotspots in their hands tomorrow. And I just wanted to appreciate the multiple in-person visits that Dr. Skelly has made to our site, and the continued support from the district office.
Mr. Scatena.
Middle college is 9 days into our instructional calendar. Our first week was dedicated to orientation, where we had our students all come together And then we did, as I shared before, 5 modules with different themes for each module to help with the transition. This is uncertain times, and having your student transition to a college type program might make some people very anxious. And I think our community did a great job in this transition. Middle college is larger than it's ever been, with 180 students. If you could think about just 5 years ago, we had 45 to 50 students enrolled in this program. Jim Burke said it best in a text just a few minutes ago. Middle college really rocked the first week. We had very few students who were disengaged or not engaged. And those students were only like single moments, and they were instantly connected with their advisor if they missed. So the system's set up to really work for them. So all that summer prep by the teachers really paid off. College started yesterday. So the college classes, now students are actually going through their regular schedule where they will meet with their teachers and meet with their college professors in a synchronous environment and sometimes asynchronous environment. Transition, trust, and balance has really been our theme. And we had material pickups on Monday afternoon after instruction, and most of the materials are out. We're waiting on one order for novels. It's a little back ordered, but a special thanks goes out to our teachers for all their work. Fabian Morales for balancing and moving around the schedule to make it really work for our students. When students had, some of the colleges dropped classes, and so students were scrambling to fill their schedule with another college class, which is not uncommon in a college environment, but I think it's probably more prevalent now in this environment. And then another special thanks to Angela Cepeda, my administrative assistant, who had to move her entire office into the district office to make it work for middle college. So, and thanks for all the support.
Mr. Gilbert.
Good evening. I could easily spend my 2 minutes just saying thank you to the people who put in the work that made the first week possible. It was truly extraordinary to see all of our staff, our parent volunteers, our teachers. The number of hours that went into this week is hard to quantify, but I guarantee you way more than you know. So thank you to everybody. We also started our week with orientation based in our advisory teams and our small learning communities. We had a rapid response system set up to identify students who were not getting in and who did not have technology. By Wednesday, almost every student was in and in class. Attendance was excellent. And so I think there are multiple truths about how the week went, but I have to say, day one was far better and more successful than I would have imagined it possible. It was really, there was moments of just, we couldn't believe that it was going as well as it did. And yet there are significant struggles. Students are making do. They're getting online, but they're often doing it with phones or with inadequate technology. And so we've really used the last 2 days to try to figure those problems out. And we are moving aggressively to identify those situations and then get the technology to the students. Pretty confident that by Monday we'll be in pretty good shape. Clearly, the issue at hand is in our ELD 1 and 2 populations. And I'm sure the schools that have ELD 1, 2 populations would reiterate that. It is just the amount of work and time it takes to connect and make sure those students and those families are in the fold and getting the support they need is it's just tremendous. But we have really good people who are working on it. And my last thought is, after what I've been thinking about most in the last few days is the importance of listening, listening to our students, understanding their situations, understanding what is motivating them or causing them struggles. And then as leaders, as district leaders, the imperative that we listen to our teachers and listen to their tone of their voice, the struggles, their emotions. I've been trying to do a lot of that because their experience is so unique. I think it's really, really important that we attend to that and to how our teachers are doing.
Thank you. Jesse.
Thank you. Members of the board, I too want to acknowledge the registration lift that happened. I've heard almost every school reference the Amazon warehouse approach, and we had, roughly 15 to 20 staff members, classified staff members, taking care of individual student needs before school started. And there's no way we would have had the launch that we had that not taken place. So just grateful that that happened, and it happened in a really effective manner. Orientations, we ran them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we ran a school-wide set of community building through tech platforms. And I'm grateful because teachers took a risk. We actually ran them through classes. So each teacher was responsible for running up to 5 of these, 6 if you include Wednesday. And so it was an amazing, I think, response in terms of being willing to model things with students and take a risk. And that will certainly continue. One of the things I've seen and heard from our colleagues is that there's less feedback in the Zoom world. There's not as much body language you can read and not as much response. So we're definitely going to remain committed to the community building because I think it'll be sustainable for both students and staff. As students who we are reaching out to now and are coming online, though there are few of them, we also think that it's equitable and important to make sure that they're brought into the community. As a teacher, I remember students coming into the class, 2-3 days in, and how you integrate that student into that class and make them feel important is really important. So we're committed to that. We at Cappuccino stole the Hillsdale model, rapid response team. Over the first 2 days, we served 100 student tech requests, all in basically 20 minutes or less. And on Wednesday and Thursday, we received, I think, 11 total tech requests around getting into Zoom. So really proud of the site staff members who staffed those forms and phone calls. We were lucky because we have quite a few bilingual staff members. Hotspots. So some specific details on that one for us at Cappuccino. We received 185 hotspots, and we made phone calls to 76 specific families who are either in ELD, have an IEP, or qualify for free and reduced lunch. And they have either picked that up this afternoon or will be doing so tomorrow. The next set of priorities was anyone who had requested a hotspot as of yesterday. They also have been invited now to come pick up their hotspot onto campus tomorrow. So we will have been able to fulfill all of our requests as of requests that have been made as of yesterday, and really happy about that. I think it helps norm our staff knowing that everyone has some level of connectivity. I do also just want to shout out the kids at CAP, the students. Their behavior has been, knock on wood, remarkable. Their attendance has been remarkable. We're seeing attendance rates like we would in person. And I did not expect that in my wildest dreams. We're seeing kids treat Zoom like a classroom, like a learning environment. And so I sent out a note to them on Canvas yesterday, and I'm so grateful. Outside learning centers, we had anticipated opening today, but we had anticipated higher levels of pollutants in the air. And so we have postponed till Monday. Ms. Arbizu may describe to you the protocols that Aragon has in place. We have very similar ones. We intend to bring 2 cohorts of 20 students each on Monday, though we may not have as high a need given that we've had hotspots. We will have hotspots out by that time. Shout out to Sarah Devaney, our district health coordinator. Sarah, if you are on, I know that all of the principals and the district office administration are grateful. I mean, you are a phone call away. Many people have asked, like, what would you do in that situation? I said, I'd call Sarah. And she's just been incredibly responsive. So thank you, Sarah. I do want to acknowledge we have just tremendous gaps, as Jeff said, Mr. Gilbert. San Bruno and Millbrae have just rallied immensely with school supplies. We created an item list of 8 core items that school supplies, because believe it or not, kids won't just be on Zoom. They'll be using sketchbooks and markers and highlighters to annotate and do important things. And so we have already had 100 students sign up, and they'll be picking up school supplies next week. So thank you to the CAT PTO and LPOs for that. Linda, you brought up, Trustee Lees-Dwyer, you brought up a really interesting point. What are we learning so far? The 2 things I'm holding on to right now are that we cannot, the camera on piece is going to be something that I think we engage with students around. And my hope is that we create inclusive communities where kids feel comfortable doing that. If there's anyone who has a hotline to Zoom and Google. Could you please integrate the Zoom background into Chromebooks? We'll treat you to lunch with Diane in our cafeteria. And the last thing is on the community and tech development. It's just going to be critical that we continue fostering community over Zoom classrooms, because I think it can feel isolating to participants if we're not actively doing that. Thank you to all the support. I mean, there are so many faces on the screen who have been really helpful in kind of guiding us through things. And shout out to all those wonderful folks at CAP who have really actually been the ones, I feel lucky I get to talk about it. They're the ones that made it happen.
Mr. Belzer.
Okay. Good evening, President Friedman, members of the board, Superintendent Skelly, and district superintendents. I'd like to first just join the board in congratulating all our retirees, and also in recognizing Mr. Teixeira, former BHS principal, among many other roles in the district. Mr. T, has been stated, was a mentor and role model for many of us, set a high standard for principals at Burlingame, and ultimately holds a dear place with so many members of the Burlingame high school community. I'd like to kind of echo many of the things that were already said, but really recognize the incredible shift I think our entire organization and our staff are really working to make, and the efforts really at all levels of the school and district. The saying, the learning's in the doing is kind of a continual lesson that we are learning. And I kind of appreciated Mr. Gilbert's comment around multiple truths. The start of a school year on a normal year is a big lift, and I don't think it's an overstatement to say these are kind of exceptional times. As such, I'd really like to recognize the significant efforts and really the adaptability of our teachers and classified staff. Our staff truly values the relationships and interactions they have with students, especially in person, and are passionate about the content they teach and the skills they work with students to develop. To transition a craft developed through, educational training and years of experience to a virtual classroom has required a great deal of adjustment and creativity. And I want to just really recognize and commend their efforts and the efforts of our professional development and instructional technology coordinators, and really all our teacher leaders. I have visited or Zoom bombed a number of classes, and I'm glad to say we are working through those awkward Zoom moments and continuing the good work. I was in several classes on Tuesday, which was our first day following our orientation on Monday, and it was really exciting to see how the teachers approached building community, building inclusivity in each of their classes. I would like to take a moment and especially recognize the BHS counseling department. BHS currently has, they assisted 90 students in registering for about 155 community college courses in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and roughly 135 students taking over 500 independent study courses. So all those schedules had to be reviewed, relooked at, and then ultimately fit into our program. They have leaned into the moment without complaint and worked incredibly hard to guide students in these decisions. Similarly, and though it's only been a few days, I want to recognize the efforts of our students and families. We had nearly every student, I think all but 34, come to Panther Prep the last week to pick up laptops, textbooks, and schedules. We checked out Chromebooks to all freshmen through juniors and any seniors who requested it. So about 11 to 1,200. Mike Tavares, our tech support specialist, did an amazing job getting all those computers out of carts with wiring and ready to go. On Monday, similar to some of the other schools, we had an orientation day with 4 sessions, welcoming, kind of building community with Burlingame High School. Our wellness counselors did a session on caring for yourself and others, kind of a student mental health approach. We had connecting to class, digital tools overview, and Canvas course modules. And then again, with our student leadership, building community at BHS. So it was a really great day. We had all but a few engaged. And we followed that up on Tuesday and Wednesday with, other than some schedule changes and new students, all but really a handful of students engaged in their class schedule and able to access the virtual classroom. So far, what I've heard from teachers is, Zoom fatigue is real, but I am confident our teachers and students will continue to grow in this new dynamic, and will be patient and empathetic with one another as we move from fledgling Zoom-based instructors to skilled and capable distance learning experts. Last, I want to recognize the considerable efforts of the BHS classified and maintenance staff. the BHS parent group volunteers, and district personnel who have been instrumental in setting us up for a successful start. Yes, we need more hotspots, and yes, the various struggles are real, but without the help and support, we would not have been set up to succeed. We are excited to kind of move from that kind of awkward kind of beginning to really building classroom communities and inclusivity that really serve our students. As one teacher said, referring to Zoom, it's kind of like the new car you drive. And I trust as time goes by, we will become very familiar and expert drivers. So really excited for the start of Burlingame High School and really excited about the places we'll go. Thank you.
Samia.
Thanks. Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, council. I also want to start by remembering Larry, and I'll try not to get emotional, but I remember I'm here to talk about Bridge, and Bridge wouldn't exist if Larry didn't welcome us onto his campus. I remember sitting in his office having the conversation around, we want to start this program, but a key thing is if you'll let us, be on your campus. And he welcomed us with open arms and really helped guide me that first year. So the news was really saddening to me, but I'm thankful for him allowing us at the adult school and mentoring me that year as we were starting Bridge. Then I want to start with saying we welcomed our Bridge students on Monday to an in-person orientation in the Mustang room. I'm so thankful for our staff for willing to be in person with our kids, knowing that they really need to be high touch with our kids. So we had all of our staff except for 2 come in. Our instructional aide and our wellness counselor, we actually wanted some people to stay at home so that as kids were practicing getting on Canvas and practicing with Zoom, they had people to connect to. So that was really nice. But Nina Fincy, Jessica Perahit, Christina Gutierrez, Araceli Huizar, Anna Rubio, Elsa Polito, and Evelyn Mejia are all part of our team who participated in Monday. We had a little over 50% of our students show up. We currently have 31 kids enrolled at Bridge with an additional 3 slated to start on Monday. We are in touch with all of our kids except for 1. The kids who have been unable to engage this week is because they are working and we're working on some twilight options for them. I'm actually really proud of our kids. For kids who are pretty new to technology, learning to navigate can be really challenging. But because we were able to have the orientation, our students have been logging on to Zoom, using Canvas, using the chat features, being able to send emails, navigating with clever badges. I mean, kids are logging on however they can and finding quiet spaces. I had a girl who was using her personal computer and it broke, and she's like, I need a computer. And I was able to deliver it this morning as she messaged me at 8 o'clock, Miss, Mike, good morning, how are you? Class starts at 8:30. I'm like, I'm on my way. And then getting back to the district office to find one of our students who had an appointment with at 9 already sitting and waiting outside the Mustang room to collect her items. So regardless of the challenges, just like with life, they are very resilient. I have also been able to jump into classes as I've been helping kids catch up and get on and see our teachers being creative and fun and really using a lot of different strategies. I love seeing what both Miss Fincy and Miss Purohit have created for our students and their opportunities to practice English even in a distant setting. I think, moving on, we are working on creating on-campus learning spaces for our students. A lot of our kids live in multiple family homes, and it's just going to be more conducive for them to have a quiet space on campus. So we're hoping that not this coming week, but the week after, we will be ready to go. Simon's been really great about supporting and recognizing spaces where we can make that happen and have good Wi-Fi connectivity. So undoubtedly it'll be a challenge for Bridge, but our teachers are up to the task and our support staff has been unbelievable in jumping in with kids in our IA, creating bilingual videos and getting additional support from people like Ms. Polito with families and getting data confirmation done. So we'll see what the year and the semester holds, but so far we feel like we are off to a great start.
Ms. Arbizu, you get to bring us home.
I do, from S to A, right? So good evening to the board and to our district leadership team. It's nice to see you all tonight. Our distribution days were fantastic. It was hot, but we had a lot of people out there. A number of our parents came. We had teachers coming in the week prior to distribution days to make learning packets for students. So our teachers were really concerned that students were going to be spending too much of their time only learning using technology. And they wanted to make sure that students still had some of that tactile learning experience. So at our distribution days, it was not uncommon to see a student come up to the book checkout with we called it a stack of learning. So they had a big pile of textbooks, and they had like a biology bag and a ceramics packet and some art materials. And so there were a lot of different tactile things for students to have, along with some handouts so that students could practice annotating for their English classes. So that was a joy to see. Friday was 102, and we still had a full lineup of people out there. It was warm, so we had a popsicle party in the middle of everything, and it kept everybody sugared up and going and happy. We had a lot of teachers while we were doing distribution days. Our teachers were participating in professional development and ramping up for what it was going to be like to invite students into their classrooms. The teachers at Aragon, we talked about having full days at the beginning of the year to welcome our students in and give them specific days of learning opportunities. And instead of doing that, we decided to focus on 4 C's at the beginning of the year. So our teachers from day one were focused on building community, building connection, communicating with students, and figuring out how to communicate with all of them, and including some of their content. So they did a little bit of everything from day one. And that was an amazing success. Monday came and went, and it's bizarre to be on a campus where you know that learning is happening, but you don't see it, right? Unless you log into it. So we kept bopping around to see what was happening in some of the Zoom rooms. We only had 20 students absent on Monday, which is tremendous. So, 1,752 kids assigned to your school, and only 20 were not able to connect. And it wasn't that they couldn't connect. We have some students who were still out, and some students who were coming back. So we did find that even though we had 234 requests for hotspots, every single kid was able to log into Canvas prior to the first day of school. So we had all of our freshmen during distribution days hooked up with upperclassmen through Link Crew, and they learned how to get into a Zoom room, how to navigate Canvas. So they knew how to do that before the first day of school. That enabled them to be there. Our freshmen are still looking up to their junior and senior Link Crew buddies as their contacts. So they're contacting their upper class friends for questions when they're frustrated with Zoom or Canvas, which is amazing community building to see. We got our hotspots today at about 1 o'clock, and we are committed to getting them out to our 93 students who we've identified as needing it the most. Getting Aragon 2.0 up and rolling on Monday could not have happened without, I'm going to talk about my admin team, Lisa Nagendran and the counselors. They are online, it seems like 24/7, trying to get things done and get kids into the classes that they need. So I wanted to thank them for their tireless effort there. Nicole Ellens-Martin is the Energizer Bunny. If you have any questions about anything tech related, she will help you. She is a VLOOKUP and pivot table wizard. And she whipped our classified staff into this amazing team able to get anything done these last few weeks. And then Juan Flores, our assistant principal, and our new dean have been working with some of our students who are using Zoom in creative and mischievous ways. So we have already gotten into the joys of Zoom bombing at Aragon, and we're working really hard to make sure that our teachers have their security features set up properly. So we had an unplanned meeting today at 8 o'clock to make sure our teachers had all of that set up and knew how to handle issues that were popping up. But a big, big thank you also to our parent group for making it possible for us to be able to distribute materials like our learning packets to kids. So it's been interesting and it's been fun. And I will look forward to having a full weekend of rest at one of these weekends. Thank you.
So thank you. Now that we're done with the presentation, we have one public comment. Christy Knott. You have 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself. You can turn your camera on. And you have 3 minutes from the time you start speaking.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here and for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Christy Knott, and I'm a parent of a 9th grader at Hillsdale, as well as a former district teacher. So far, my son is having a good experience with distance learning. He likes his teachers, he's getting to know other students, and he's pretty happy about getting to bring his dog to school sometimes. I've been impressed, though not surprised, at how smoothly this week has gone. The hard work of everyone in the district has definitely paid off. The block days are working really well at Hillsdale with a manageable number of classes and transitions, and the teachers are doing a great job of breaking up the time with a variety of teaching approaches. Tonight, I'm advocating to change Wednesdays to asynchronous days where students do not meet with their teachers in any live sessions. Yesterday's 1 through 7 period day felt very rushed. Hopping on and off Zoom calls more than 7 times in one day was a lot. And I can only imagine how challenging it was for the teachers. Asynchronous Wednesdays would serve as a necessary release valve to ensure that everyone can sustain the challenges of completing this marathon, as Dr. Skelly so aptly calls it. Students would still be expected to do schoolwork, but at their pace, giving them a little bit of control in a time of much uncertainty, while strengthening their independent learning skills. Teachers would be able to focus on assessing student work, adjusting and developing curriculum, and if needed, also be available to students during a short designated office hour period. For schools that have advisory, perhaps Wednesday morning would begin at the usual start time with all students reporting to their advisory class for a 25-minute check-in. This would encourage them to stick to their school day sleep schedule and allow the advisor to take attendance and ensure that each student has a clear plan for the day. After advisory, the students would leave Zoom to complete their assignments on their own. I appreciated Jeff Gilbert's focus on listening to teachers, staff, and students, and hope that that is something that all of the schools are working hard to do. And I appreciate your consideration of this idea. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you have anything else, Dr. Skelly, or can we go to board comments and questions?
I think that's fine. We do have some information about the latest health data, but I assume you know that as well. You're following.
It was directly from the county website. So.
Yeah, so on you go.
Mr. Land, you're first.
Okay. First, I just want to thank all the leadership for the multiple truths, I guess is the best way to put it. I think hearing the different perspectives was very impressive. I really just want to thank all of you for giving us the details and some really interesting to the point stories. And I think that's exactly right. It's a mirage of what's going on, but it really is refreshing to hear from all of you. Your leadership is amazing. I'm very impressed with all of the work that's been done. I love how you're working together and collaborating. I like to hear that different sites are helping out with other sites and stealing and imitating what's going on. That's the perfect way to be in a leadership position. I just want to say that, I really gained insight into what was going on. I was very concerned at the beginning of this meeting, and I really feel like I understand what's happening at each of your sites. Just thank you very much for all the work that you're doing. And I know it's not perfect, but again, this isn't a perfect world, but you guys are doing amazing work, and it's just going to get better as time goes on. So thank you very much for all you're doing. and all your staffs as well.
Thank you, Linda. Ms. Lees Dwyer.
Okay, it's getting late. I'm not going to say much. Wow. I guess I would just say wow. Yvonne, Ron, Paul, Valerie, your first school, all of you, all of the work you're doing. Pam, Jesse, I listened to you, Don, all of you, and I think, wow. And I think what I appreciate the most is your positive attitudes, because it can be done. It's a struggle. It's been a struggle for a long time already for all of you since March. And you keep carrying on. You keep moving forward. You're listening, like Jeff said, and you are trying to move everyone forward and coordinate it and keep it going and do the best you can do. And I have the utmost respect for your positive attitudes and your willingness to come to work every day and meet the challenges that you are facing. And I applaud you and I support you.
Thank you. Bob, Mr. Griffin.
Me?
Oh, Mr. Hanley. Okay, out of order. Sorry. Threw you both off. It's late.
Yeah, it's getting late. I'll be quick. This is a much stronger start than I think I expected, and it's a very positive start. So I think it emphasizes the really importance of teamwork, and I think that's what we heard repeatedly tonight. So I think I'm encouraged at how well we've begun, and I think we just need to continue to keep working at it and keep building on the positive start. And see how it goes. Well, it's still going to be a challenge, I'm sure, but I think this was a good start.
Bob, Mr. Griffin.
I'll just thank everyone for their effort and their presentations. It is encouraging. It's certainly not, this is only the first battle of not winning the war, but it is encouraging. Thank you.
I'll say the same thing. It's very encouraging. I have a question I just want to ask the principals to make sure that, we've heard different types of stories. I just wanted to comment on the asynchronous Wednesday. It is a very good idea. However, the way the legislature wrote the law about learning, no one can do it. You have to have face-to-face or 180 minutes a day. I believe it's 180 minutes a day for 180 days of face-to-face or Zoom type learning when you go online. So telling students just go off and learn on your own on Wednesday, we wouldn't be able to count that towards our 180 days without 180 minutes of scheduled learning. And so it just doesn't work. And that's the legislature. And so my question for the administrators, for the principals, basically, I just want to be clear. You were with all your students on Monday. It's not necessarily Ron, because you were pretty clear too. Your classes don't start till Friday. All your students started. Did everyone have except for the internet devices we heard, did everyone have a laptop that was connectable to the internet? Was there any significant equipment shortages or supply shortages that we should be aware of? So I'd like every principal to answer that.
Mr. Friedman, I can say the only issue that we were having at Aragon was that we did not have the hotspots. And I think every school was kind of in that place. We had enough Chromebooks to hand one to every student, and they were ready to go. But we did have a number of students choose to opt out.
I'll follow. We'll go in order, I guess. Burlingame, the same thing. We had limited, less than a handful of any student that had the technological difficulty getting on. Every student was who requested. Like I said, all 9th through 11th graders were given a Chromebook, checked out, and all 12th graders who requested one. So there was no shortage of Chromebooks.
We had,
Oh.
sorry, I was just gonna say for Bridge, we had every student has a computer in hotspot. So we were very lucky.
Great.
President Friedman for Cappuccino, we distributed them during registration. Some students opted out or did, 85% participated. So this week we did distribute some additional ones. The rationale was oftentimes, well, I don't like my laptop anymore, it broke. And so they came to campus immediately and picked them up. We still have a strong inventory of Chromebooks, and so we're in good shape.
I think that's pretty descriptive of Hillsdale. There are some students who now, 3 days in are saying, oh, I opted out, but it's not working, or you're finding students whose Chromebook isn't working well and they're using their phone. So we're really trying to target those students, but we can get our hands on the equipment we need.
Mills?
Same for Mills, Mr. Friedman, and if I'm going into classes and I see a student's not on camera, for example, I'm reaching out to them to make sure that they have one of our Chromebooks so they can get on camera.
And San Mateo, I guess.
Yeah, we could go 1-to-1 tomorrow, so Chromebooks is not an issue. We did run a no activity report after the first day, and there were maybe 50 students on there. And so now our job is to do outreach to make sure that those students are on our hotspot list and getting them what they need to get connected.
And Ron, I ignored you because you haven't started yet. Don, do you want to? I guess you have 100.
We have all the equipment necessary. There are 15 hotspot requests, but it's not for a lack of the students getting online.
Okay. That's all I have. I guess I have one is Simon still there? Are hotspots, what's the bandwidth of a hotspot? Is it any good? Or is my home internet better?
Your home internet will definitely be better. You can't beat a landline, right? But these hotspots are running off LTE network, which is pretty darn good. But it all depends on where you are in vicinity with the towers, right? These hotspots are just like your cell phone minus the voice option.
So you would compare your home internet to your cell phone to see which is better.
Right.
If you were going to do like a download speed test.
Like I said, your home landline will always beat wireless service, in my opinion.
Okay, I was just curious. Any other questions?
Mr. Friedman, we've done this, we've had reports at every board meeting for the past, I think, 6 months. Are there particular issues that the board would like to hear more about at the next meeting? Or, we may, I don't know, we'll have a report for you, obviously, but are there particular pieces that you'd like to hear more about?
Greg?
I was just going to say, I think you guys have done an amazing job. I think we can slim it down a little bit. Maybe just talk about academics, see how the academics are going.
Yeah, I would second that. I'd like to hear how the academics are going at the next, that'll be about 3 weeks. It'll be about 3 weeks in, or 3.5 weeks in. I'd like to hear about how the academics are going, and maybe a short report on the technology. But I think we could probably slim it down a little bit from there.
A lot of it,
yeah.
Okay.
Linda?
I think it would be good to know about attendance also.
That's what I was going to ask. I think, you don't have to go round and round in school. You can put it all on one slide. And because I'm concerned that there'll be Zoom fatigue. And, after a few weeks, and students, I know I have Zoom fatigue.
Well,
I'm not sitting there for 3 hours every morning. Yes.
Also, it's after 9 o'clock and the principals should all be home sleeping because they all have to be up early. So, we do want to control the time so they don't spend their days and nights.
Well, they can
Well,
leave.
I'm at 6.5 hours of Zoom meetings right now.
You don't count.
So,
Hey,
Peter, you
all
don't
principals.
count.
Okay,
all
okay, we
principals
can
get to
get
go.
through the rest, we can finish this item. I'm sure we can get through the rest of the stuff in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I know what's on
Yeah.
the agenda. But just, yeah, the principals can leave as they see fit, but I just want to comment, we do start at 9 now, which is a little better than our previous starts.
Well, the students start at 9, staff start at 7:45.
Oh, they have to be there. Okay, sorry.
Hey, Mark, I got a couple things when we come back.
sure.
I want to talk about the assessments and the early interventions or the interventions.
MTSS would be nice.
Thank you, Bob. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Anyone else? Greg, nothing else. Linda, nothing else. Peter, nothing else.
no.
Good. So are we done with this item, Dr. Skelly?
Thank you very much, and thank you, principals. You have, as I tell you all the time, I love you.
That's a little scary.
Let's move on, and we're on item, just want to make sure I got it right. Item N1, personnel.
Okay.
Yeah, this item, this thing is yours, Dr. Black. One of the items that I would like you to consider is on page 2 of the regular report, which is about carrying over up to 10 non-work days to July 31st. Given our situation, I'd like to, no, we don't need that. I'd like to extend that through October, if that's okay with you, which would allow some of our administrators to take days off when school settles down and see family and friends and loved ones.
What does that mean? So that means days from June 30th, days they have.
That they didn't take off, that they could now use through October, so that they can take that vacation. Sort of, it's not vacation, it's non-work days, but so they could rest and rejuvenate.
Is this comp time, compensation?
Yeah, and Dr. Black, you may have an idea of the numbers here. We're not talking about a whole bunch of employees, but it's more than usual have had to work through this.
Right. Some of this is for the managers and administrators on the positive work here on individual independent contracts. I would say a lot of them already used it. I would say there's probably 15 to 20 that have days, and I think the average should be around 4 or 5 per.
Do you need a motion for this?
That's an amendment to your personnel report. I don't know if Dr. Black, even where I jumped in on your item.
Yeah, I have one recognition, but I see Linda's asking Mark.
Question.
Go on, Linda. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, so these are for people who are under positive work year contracts, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to be amending their contracts, correct? For the contract that they're under right now. And I'm not against this at all. I just want to understand. They have written contracts, and we're going to amend their contracts. Is that correct?
Right. So these are for administrators that are continuing. So they had a contract last year and a contract this year. They'll work the same amount of work days. There are 222 work days.
Yeah,
they have 444 work
I'm
days.
fine with that.
It's just the different years. They'll be working. They've worked more last year than this year because they didn't have time to take these non-work days off. I mean, some people did it. Some of them didn't.
So when did the new contract year start?
July 1st.
Okay, so we're talking about days that they worked during the old contract when they should have been able to take off but couldn't,
right,
because of the workload, that we're going to let them carry over and take off during the new contract, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So then we would be amending their current contracts to add the language that allows that to happen. And I don't know, you'll have to find out how that works out, how that's done on paper. But it would make more sense to have it go to the end of the year, because right now is not a good time for any of them to be away. But if they want to extend Thanksgiving a day or extend Christmas a day, start a day, then that would make more sense for the schools and for them. So I would prefer that if we're going to do an amendment to allow the people who have not taken the hours to which they are entitled, that we do it through the end of the year and that we amend the contracts accordingly so that the language is clear. that they have the right to do that, because I think that's better for the schools and it's better for them.
I think we can easily do that. Don't you think, Dr. Blind?
Yes, we can do that. We'll do that.
That makes sense for the rest of the board.
Yes, makes sense.
The motion then.
I move
Second.
that we, okay, you know.
There's one recognition, if you don't mind, that David
No,
Ramirez.
we have to vote on this specifically alone.
No, it's, we do?
Yeah, we're
Part
changing
of the-
the
It's
contracts.
within the personnel actions though.
Well, it shouldn't have been. We should vote to amend the contracts.
Well, then we have to make it a new agenda item.
I think we
Okay.
pull it out and vote on it at this point. I mean, we do need to vote on it to allow it.
So if you look at page 2 of your presentation, I think what Ms. Lee Dwyer is proposing that we change that for all the managers who work in this, employment contracts should be adjusted so that they can take up to 10 of their non-work days through December 31st. So
That
it's
have
a
not
small,
been, that have not been previously exhausted.
yes, that's right.
And it's carryover, 10 days carried over from the prior contract.
That's right.
Okay, you got to make sure the language is all in there.
That sounds good. Second.
Okay, so it's a separate motion by Ms. Lee Dwyer, second by Mr. Mr. Land. I thought it was Mr. Griffin. Mr. Land, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Lee Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 5-0. Now we have personnel actions.
I move approval of personnel actions.
Second.
With one recognition, if you don't mind, David Ramirez has been with the district as a bus driver for 31 years and 3 months, and he's
Wow.
retiring on December 31st
Wow.
at the end of this year.
Nice.
We should invite him back to a meeting.
Okay,
Motion by Ms. Lee Dwyer, second by Mr. Land. Mr. Land, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Lee Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Hanley, sorry.
Yes.
And I vote
Mr.
yes.
Mink.
Motion carries 5-0. Item R2, R1, 2020 conflict of interest local agency biennial notion. Dr. Black? is
yeah,
there
every even year we have to look at our organization and determine if there's any amendments. We didn't think there was, and we saw county council and they assured us that there was none needed this year. But we have to report it every other year.
Congratulations.
We're done with that then? Dr. Black, no vote?
It says approval, but no amendments required, none approvals required.
Okay, do I hear a
approval.
motion?
I
made a
move
motion.
approval.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee Dwyer, was that Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Land,
Yes.
Ms. Lee Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
I vote yes, 5-0. Motion carries. Final item, R2, review and discuss the specific board policy as administrative recommendations. I actually read these a lot about blood-borne pathogens.
Blood-borne pathogens.
Yeah.
I donated blood last week in case
Good for
any.
Do you
you.
have a pathogen in your blood?
I hope not. They're giving me COVID testing. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you can get COVID. Yeah. Oh, they're giving you the antibody.
Antibiotic,
testing?
yeah.
So this
That's
is
to get people to donate blood.
so if we just say yes, then it goes to.
Does that goes to, because I see
good.
no reason
fine.
not to put this
Sounds
to
great.
consent.
Yeah, it looked fine. It looked fine to me. It looked like it was all ed code or some other code.
Something to do with blood-borne pathogens.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it
almost
looked
over,
fine to
Julia.
me.
So that's all. There's a board operations. Anyone want to add anything?
Not me.
Good night,
Okay.
everybody.
Then I'm calling this meeting. Do you have anything, Dr. Skelly?
I'd just like to thank you for your hard work. I know it's late and you've been at this a long time, so thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just, we threw, it's only been a day or two we really need to come up with a way to honor Mr. Teixeira, Larry.
Like that one. That would be a
Yeah, I
blast.
mean, I think I would just
Yeah.
suggest you consult with the adult school, people who had him at Burlingame High. And, there's
Yeah.
just a lot of people in this community who knew him, and we need to figure out. He was a giant of our, and we don't have administrators.
He'd be worth a field or something. Yeah.
We don't
There you
have
go.
a field. I don't know what it is, but we don't have administrators who administrate in our district for 50 years.
Yeah.
So we just have to come up with the appropriate memory.
Yeah. It's true.
Okay, so
On a bench.
like to put that on a future agenda item. You don't really have to write that down, Shar, but
Yes.
come up with something that, work with the community to come up with something. Okay, yes, that you're
I'm
done?
still here
Peace
too.
out, man. Peace out. I want to go.
Okay. Goodbye, all.
Good
Meeting's
night.
closed. I'm going to end it in 10,
Good night.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.